find out once and for all what's up. Florida, California, the inaugural CaliFlorida Bowl. Next.
Football is always in season in Pasadena, live from the Rose Bowl in Southern California. It's the best from Florida versus the best from California. It's the inaugural CaliFlorida Bowl coming at you next. Hi, everybody. Jim Watson along with Mike Lamb. We've talked about Cal, Texas. We've talked about Florida, Georgia, Texas, Oklahoma, all the great all-star games for the first time ever, and maybe the greatest compilation of high school talent on the field at the same time. Mike, it's California against Florida, and maybe the start of something special.
Well, I think it will be the start of something special. You're looking at two states that produce the most NFL players and the most major college football players. These two states produce the finest in high school athletes as well, and tonight they're going to prove who's the best on the field.
Florida, as you might expect, shows up with a loaded team, including the best player in the state. He's a 6'5" linebacker. He plays wall-to-wall. His name is Eric Moore, and he's already delivered to Tallahassee, Florida State in the fall.
Eric Moore, he's got 123 tackles, 15 quarterback sacks, and he is just raw speed and raw athletic ability. I don't think there's much doubt he's the best player in Florida.
For California fans, of course, you know the name DJ Williams. He comes out of that great program in Concord, De La Salle, 100 straight victories. This guy never lost a game in his high school career. DJ Williams, maybe the best player in the state. Some say the best player in the country.
Well, a lot of people will talk about who's the best player, but tonight, DJ Williams and Eric Moore will find out who's the best player in the country on the field, and that's the beauty of this game.
And, of course, the California fans are cheering for DJ Williams, but the Florida fans also have vested interest. He's signed and going to Miami in the fall. It's California against Florida. It's the beast from the east against the best in the west. The inaugural CaliFlorida Bowl from the Rose Bowl. Kickoff coming up next. We come back to Southern California.
The first annual CaliFlorida Bowl is brought to you in part by Air 7 Sports, home of the Air 7 training camp. By far the best opportunity to develop your skills in every aspect of the sport of football. Come join us for our next session, August 3rd through the 6th in Santa Barbara. We'll also be offering an in-season training camp in Pasadena this September. And don't forget to mark your calendars for December 23rd, when we proudly present CaliFlorida Bowl 2 at the Los Angeles Coliseum. Don't miss it.
See the stars of tomorrow today with Student Sports Magazine. Read about the country's top players in football, basketball, baseball, track and field, and more. Right now, you can get a one-year subscription to Student Sports Magazine for just $19.99. That's 10 issues packed with coverage of high school athletes from all over the country. And keep up, too, with the latest in high school sports with the website at studentsports.com. With Student Sports Magazine, you'll be ahead of the game. Know tomorrow's stars.
The American Cancer Society's Relay for Life brings hope to communities while it generates funds critical to the mission of eliminating cancer. Join friends and neighbors for 24 hours, September 9th and 10th at Oxnard High School as they light the darkness with hope. Your support of this event could help save the life of someone in our community, maybe even someone you know. Support the American Cancer Society's Relay for Life. Join or start a team today. Call 983-8864 for more information.
First, there was dark red stains on the driveway. Then the transmission hesitated to shift when I put it into gear. Why was this happening?
For all of your automotive repairs, visit Tony's Transmission. Whether it's preventative maintenance or complete transmission and automotive repairs, Tony's Transmission provides high-quality workmanship using premium parts to all cars, trucks, and vans, foreign and domestic.
Tony's Transmission is the answer.
Take the worry out of transmission auto repair. Visit Tony's Transmission and you'll be another satisfied customer.
Test your sports IQ nightly. Sports Geniuses weeknights at 6 on Fox Sports Net.
Football in July, you bet. It's hot in the Arroyo Seco, Pasadena, the Rose Bowl, one of the most storied venues, football in the United States, and today maybe giving birth to some legends of the future. The head coach for Florida, David Wilson, the head coach from Tallahassee Lincoln High School, and it's been a very special year for Dave Wilson, winning the 6A title with those guys, 160-83 career. We had some time spent with them this year or this week, and Pretty interesting guy, Dave Wilson. We'll talk about it as the night goes on. Gene Vollnagel, the California head coach, 289 victories. Of course, great years at Banning and Carson the last couple of years, and assistant coach at Los Alamitos. A night full of stars. We have an extra one on the sideline, John Jackson.
Thanks, Jim. Well, in an all-star game, you could expect to find great athletes at the skill position. Well, tonight for California, they have two of the best, not only in California, but in the country. Matt Grudegood and Tab Perry both had phenomenal games in the Caltech Shrine All-Star game earlier this summer. Grudegood 11 tackles, 1 interception, while Tab Perry walked away with MVP honors. He had 2 long touchdowns, this being one of them. You can see how he uses his size and speed to take advantage of defenders. Now, the coaches call Matt Grudegood a heat-seeking missile, one of the best players that ever passed through modern day, while Tab Perry considered one of the best in Northern California. Great size, great speed. Well, tonight, they're on the same team, but look for them to face off as they go to USC and UCLA, respectively. Back to you, Jim.
Lots of talent all over the field. California against Florida for the very first time. Jim Watson along with Mike Lamb, and of course you just met John Jackson. California in the blue and gold jerseys. John Wall, the senior from Birmingham High School. Of course, everybody here tonight, a senior. They're all graduating, all going on. John Wall going on to USC, not too far away from Van Nuys, right here in the Valley. The guy's back for Florida. Some good speed back there. Johnny Mack from Lakeland High School. He'll be in the backfield when Florida sets up on offense. He is the deep man. Also back is Chauncey Stovall and Lorani Galasha as well. Gene Vollnagel, of course, everybody in Southern California knows this guy started coaching in 1953. And we are set for the very first time, California against Florida, and Walls pops one up to the short man at the 20-yard line. So California protecting against the return. Willie Roberts took that one for Florida, and that's where they'll set up. Matt Grudegood from modern day. Chances are, Mike, we'll see Grudegood many times.
Well, Matt Grudegood will play hard in the regular game and on special teams. He just likes to hit people.
Johnny Jones, the quarterback from Lakeland High School. In fact, the entire backfield played at Lakeland High School. We'll talk a little bit about that as we move on. Jones doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Threw for about 1,000 yards all 3 years he started. Doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. 2,500 total yards this year. Player of the year in his area the last 2 years. Only lost 1 game in high school. Little misdirection. Johnny Jones keeping that one. And Mike, California for the first time seeing this type of offense. It might cause some confusion for them as they look at it for the first time. We check the front line for Florida. Ashley Pettigrew, 2-time All-American. David Castillo, National Honor Society. Hagan Mason squats 675 pounds. Chris Myers is signed for Florida. David Bass is going to Michigan. Other guys to keep an eye on. Johnny Mack, All-State at Lakeland 2 years in a row. Ronnie Galasha, 21 touchdowns. He's going to Louisville. Capers is fast, one of the best in the Southeast. Stovall and Willie Roberts. Pitch a little bit behind Johnny Mack, but he's able to collect it, and he's knocked out of bounds just short of the 30-yard line.
California does a nice job of stringing that thing out, and they've never seen this offense before.
DJ Williams with the tackle. Check California defensively. Treson Lewis, 17 sacks. He's going to Wisconsin. Calvin Barrett going to Wisconsin as well. Brent Pollock is on his way to BYU. Bernard Thomas, Nebraska. Linebackers. DJ Williams just made that tackle. Best player in the country, maybe. Warfield is committed to UCLA. He'll play here. Norton is also going to be a Bruin. Sam Cunningham had 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns this season. He's going to Oregon. And of course, Matt Grudegood on his way to USC, one of the best players in California. Ball tipped in the air and incomplete for the first time. Florida going to the air. We figured that Florida would mostly run the ball, Mike, but they eventually going to have to put the ball in the air.
Well, I don't think that you can become one-dimensional. They run a multiple eye, something that you'll be familiar with having seen Notre Dame run for a lot of times. It's just a short drop for Florida, and you get some players with some penetration. Pollock there gets his hands up, and the big guy has been known to get penetration, and that's a smart thing to do. Try to bat it down.
Red Pollock with the deflection. Red Pollock going to BYU. First punt of the game. Guy's a little short, but it's going to turn out all right for Florida as it gets a nice roll and comes to rest right at the 20-yard line. 50 yards on the punt. And California will have it for the very first time, and that means Chris Ricks, quarterback from Santa Margarita, and he is going to Florida State. You see the wing of the Eagles on one side of his helmet, on the other side the spear of Florida State. Great athlete, good arm strength, and he's fast, a 4.5 40, a 31-inch vertical leap. But there are some questions here, Mike. He didn't put up great numbers as a senior, was injured, actually spent a couple of games as a wide receiver, and if somebody has something to prove, it might be that guy tonight.
A great opportunity for him to show his wares to the folks down in Tallahassee.
Ricks under center, gonna throw. We expect California to put the ball in the air all night long, completes his first pass for about 5.5 yards. In front of Ricks, a great front five. In fact, it's a Pac-10 front five. They're all going there. They average 6'4", 290. Snyder's going to Oregon. Watkins is SC. Issaeff is UCLA. Ayala ASU. And McGuire is going to USC. All Pac-10 guys. Manuel White, 6,000 yards during his career at Valencia High School here in Southern California. Tab Perry great on both sides of the ball. And Kerry Colbert is blurry fast. Went for over 1,000 yards this year. Second down and just under 5 yards. Ricks to throw again. Out the flat. Has a man. It's Manuel White. He puts his head down, stays inside, and gets a first down.
Manuel White does a nice job when he catches the football. He makes sure he tucks that thing away and turns up the field, and that's going to be open against this Florida defense tonight to throw to the flat.
Take a look at the Florida defense. David Hartley played at Lincoln High School for the head coach Dave Wilson. Lonnie Creighton, second team All-State, had 106 tackles. He's going to Tulane. Walker, Baker, and Jones, the linebackers, and they're all big time. Defensive backs, Preston Jackson, on his way to Notre Dame, leads a pretty good secondary, and they're going to be tested as Ricks again goes to the air, this time downfield, and just misses a diving receiver. Got Kerry Colbert from Wainimi.
Kerry Colbert gets open and has pretty good separation, but right when he makes his turn, he slips, and Ricks has already got the ball delivered. Otherwise, that would be a nice pickup.
Well, Michael, it's a hot day here. The temperature close to 100 degrees in Pasadena at this time of year. They were watering the field. Maybe that has a little play on it, but some of these guys pretty excited to be playing in the big park as well.
Yeah, it's a festive atmosphere here in the Rose Bowl for these guys.
Second 10 now. Chris Ricks fakes the handoff, little play action, gets outside the tackle. Looks and holds, throws, ball deflected and incomplete. Through the hands of a receiver, had a guy open at the 50.
Ricks kind of presses his position there a little bit. It's a rollout to the right side. He sees a receiver, but there's pretty good coverage that time. That might have been a play where he would have been better served to just tuck that thing away.
Of course, all of these guys on their way to college, so this game kind of a hybrid of the high school and the collegiate game. We play 15-minute quarters as opposed to 12. No blocking below the waist. You can run kickoffs out of the end zone. You can't do that in high school. No stunts, blitzes, or slants until you get inside the 20-yard line. And then defenses can do anything they want, and that's when it gets fun. Ricks again to throw. Good protection, steps up against a little pressure, and he likes to run this football to the 40, and then he's wrapped up as he crosses the 41-yard line. Walker, the tackle for Florida.
When you look at the coverage of Florida that time, they have adapted to this four-receiver set that California wants to utilize, and Ricks sits in the pocket. There's pretty good protection there, but when there's nobody to throw to, the smart thing to do is don't sit there and be the sacrificial lamb. Get out and pick up as much as you can and protect the football when the big guys from Florida take you to the turf.
Now California now forced to punt on 4th and short. Chris Cluey, who was the hero of the California-Texas game with a 53-yard field goal on the last play of the game. Michael, you were there. This kid's got a great leg. He also had a 60-yarder in the playoffs against Loyola High School.
And he's the kind of guy that likes pressure. The more pressure there is, the better he responds.
Stovall is back along with Tavares Capers. They just call him T. He's so fast you don't have time to say his first name. He'll never get a look at this one. 36 yards and no return as it goes out of bounds. Cluey does his job. And still no score. We're just about 3.5 minutes into this one. Crowd still filing in on a very hot day in Southern California. Good to have you with us, watching in Florida or here in Southern California. You can see they're expecting a pretty good crowd here. Middle of the summer, Michael, they're going to find football fans in Southern California. Is everybody at the beach?
They're going to find football fans in Southern California and in Florida because of the high quality of the players that are in this football game.
For the second time, Florida with the ball. Johnny Jones, the quarterback. Keep it in tight. Little misdirection. Jones Pitches it out late. Johnny Mack has some space. A little hesitation at the 30, across the 40, still on his feet. Out to the 44-yard line, gave him 22 yards. I always said California hadn't, a lot of the defensive players had played against this type of what looks to be like a simple offense, Mike, but it can get you off balance.
Well, it's simple, but it's only simple if the quarterback can do it correctly, and the right way to run an option is you've got to pitch it late. You've got to make people commit. Matt Grudegood commits to the quarterback, and there's the pitch and a nice run.
Lost Marley Tucker there, number 23 from Long Beach Poly with that dead leg. They go on the dive this time. Up the middle spinning was Tavares Capers. Excuse me, it was Ronnie Galashaw, too, not 7. Galashaw, of course, from Lakeland. You see the L on the helmet. All the guys in the backfield, Jones, Galashaw, and Mack, all from Lakeland High School.
And that's where there's going to be a lot of pressure on this defense against the linebackers trying to stop the first back out of the backfield. And not great tackling on California's part to this point, but they didn't wear full pads throughout the week, so that may be something that they're going to have to get the rhythm of as the ball game goes on.
Jones hands to Mack. He stumbles. He'll lose a couple of yards. It'll be 3rd down now.
And Jim, you and I talked about this when we were practicing this week. As we watched these two teams, we looked at the phenomenal athletes on defense for both of these football teams, and we figured early on the defenses were going to be dominant.
Nate Goodson from Temesco Canyon. He's going to USC. CIF Player of the Year in his division. He's got white hair underneath that helmet. He's got tats on the back of his arms. Brings a little attitude, which you should when you play defense, huh? You gotta love that guy. 3rd down and 8. Looked like a passing situation, but Florida keeps it on the ground. A big hit by DJ Williams from De La Salle. We saw him do this in a couple of games against Mater Dei that were showdowns in Southern California between 2 of the country's best, so no surprise to find DJ on the ball.
Well, you see good speed and explosion through the line of scrimmage, and then right at the end there, whap, little hit there from Mr. Williams.
Tim Warfield from Vista High School, the first guy to get there, 45, and then he just sets him up for the kill shot from DJ right there.
They'll remember DJ Williams. They wanted to know who he was. Now they're going to find out.
Mike, I was surprised at practice. Gene Volnagel was talking about DJ just playing defense, but one of the best offensive players I've ever seen. On 4th and short, Florida goes, and just eyeballing it, they do have enough. But I say you got to use DJ every time you can. He's the best player I've seen in California in a long, long time.
He is, and on that 4th down play, he came up and put a big stick on the running back. And, you know, you've got a player that has that athletic ability and the rare combination of loving to play and playing hard every down, be it on offense or on defense.
Remember, he played offense, but he averaged 15 tackles a game on defense, playing for a school that blew most people out by halftime, and so he wasn't on the field all that much. It is a 1st down for Florida. The first time across midfield at the California 46, and movement on the left side by both teams. Officials today, the referees Bob McQueen, umpire, Tommy Wheatron, head linesman Larry Martinez, Dan Ramirez is your line judge, Dario Barron is your side judge, Bob Barron the field judge, Joe Arona the back judge. Gene Volnagel. You know, talking with Dave Wilson, the Florida coach, about Gene Volnagel. I said, did you guys have a chance to talk much? He said a couple of times in the hallway, but he said he actually asked me to sit down for breakfast today, and I said, what was that like? And Dave Wilson is the kind of guy who likes everybody, but he really likes Gene Volnagel, and he was marveling at his 289 victories. He said, I haven't even coached that many games yet. Short drop for Jones, goes outside. Grudegood just misses on the dive, and the ball is caught. Michael Jenkins with the catch, and a 1st down for Florida. Nice throw by Johnny Jones to get it past Grudegood.
Well, both of these quarterbacks for the Florida squad are known as guys that can run an option and are adequate passers. But thus far, Johnny Jones has had great mechanics, and when there's an open receiver, he's found him with the correct read.
Michael Jenkins, who made that catch, on his way to Ohio State. A lot of talent on both squads. It's just fun to look up and down the roster and see all the big schools. Full Lakeland backfield. Johnny Jones fakes and then pitches late. Mack able to pick it up off his shoestrings and get to the 23-yard line before he's dragged out of bounds.
California is trying to figure out what this is all about, and this is a late pitch by Johnny Jones, and this ball might have gone out forward a little bit there. That's a forward pass to the man, and might have been across the line of scrimmage.
And late and kind of a dangerous pitch by Jones, but that's, you run the option, that's going to happen. 11 yards on the carry for Mack. He's got 40 now on 5 carries. And then they fake to the dive man, and then Jones is pulled down from behind. Bernard Thomas coming from the backside to drag him down.
And if I'm Dave Wilson, I'm telling my quarterback, hey, pitch that thing outside every single time. That's where you're able to attack this defense, is out on the perimeter. And the problem is right now the safety is supposed to take the pitch man, i.e. the man who's getting the pitch, and that's not happening. They're coming up to try to make a play on the quarterback, and you've got 2 men on the quarterback, and you're leaving the pitch man wide open.
Bernard Thomas, who made that tackle from St. Francis High School on his way to Nebraska. 110 tackles this year, 80 of them unassisted. He just got 1 there. Jones gives it up to the first guy through. It's Lorani Galashaw. Galashaw down to the 10-yard line. $13 yards on the carry. Lots of space up the middle, Mike.
They blow him out, and Lorani Galashaw does a nice job in the open field there. There you see he's getting a block downfield by David Castile, but he leaves the ball. Had he held on to that ball, he'd have got a block from his wide receiver, and he'd have been open. Look at that. I mean, that's just good push up front. And again, David Castile gets a block on one guy at the point of attack and then gets downfield to help out his running back.
Willie Roberts was the guy who got back on it for Flores. Galashaw left it laying on the 10-yard line, but Florida's still holding on to it. Getting close at the 10. No score yet from the Rose Bowl. We come back to Southern California.
The Ronald McDonald Houses of Los Angeles, Loma Linda, and Orange County provide a home away from home for families with children undergoing treatment for cancer and other serious illnesses. With lodgings near pediatric care hospitals, these facilities provide comfortable, supportive environments for families during their stay. Battling a life-threatening illness is tough enough on kids. Help them fight back by keeping their families nearby. To learn more, please call 800-625-7295.
Driving season is here. Good seats are still available, and Pontiac has your ticket to ride. For a limited time, get 0.9% APR, plus $1,000 towards your down payment on every 2000 Pontiac Grand Am. Residency restrictions apply. And check out gmticketoride.com for additional offers available online. It's time to get the ride you've always wanted. It's time to get your ticket to ride at your Pontiac dealer today.
Merhabalar. Yapılmakta olan ulusal dalgıçlık olimpiyatları için güzel şehrimiz Diyarbakır'a hoş geldiniz. Evet, yarışmacımız Yaşar yürüyor. Yaşar hazırlanıyor. Mükemmel bir atlayış. Atladı. Çok güzel bir atlayış. Herkes şaşkın. Atlayıştı. Evet, omuz ve baş sallama. Evet, ve Yaşar görünüyor.
Welcome back to the first CaliFlorida Bowl, the Rose Bowl in Southern California, Pasadena. Jim Watson, Mike Lamb, and John Jackson. And Florida on a nice drive here. 10th play of a drive. It's measured over 70 yards already and sitting with a first down just inside the 10-yard line as the California defense now playing on their heels. Johnny Jones and that full Lakeland High School backfield walks up with a little swagger now, Mike.
He's feeling pretty good about where they're at to this point.
Galashaw works a long way for about a yard. Steps out at the 9, Pat Norton from Hart High School, a school that has won 2 straight CIF championships here in Southern California. Good coverage, forcing him out.
And you'll see some penetration here by the defensive line by Brent Pollock, and he's got to wrap that tackle up. When he gets it, you've got to be a good tackler, and that has been a continuing theme for California to this point. They have not tackled very well.
Galashaw gets about a yard and a half, second down and 8. Go from the eye. And movement left side, and this should back them up. Look like Chris Riley, number 21, moving for Florida. And it is procedure. So the Florida All-Stars backed up 5. 7:18 now to play in the first quarter. Still no score from the Rose Bowl, CaliFlorida Bowl number 1. Gene Vollnagel, the head coach for California, he called out a couple of his players this week, and he asked a little bit more from these guys. In particular, Kerry Colbert, who we saw earlier, a wide receiver, and Pat Norton. He said Norton didn't do a very good job in the California-Texas game, and he challenged him, Mike. He said, I need more from you tonight.
He's very honest and open with his players, and he tells them what he thinks, and I think that is the correct way to treat these men.
Johnny Jones, play action, steps back, deep drop. Has some protection, throws a duck across field. Grudegood is there. Ball deflected in the air and incomplete. They won't give him the interception. Ricardo Stewart is the guy with the football. And for Matt Grudegood, a little bit of a smile. And that's a lot of emotion for Matt Grudegood. He had a pick in the Orange County All-Star game down south a week ago. He had a pick in the Cal-Texas game, and he thought he had one here. This ball stayed in the air a long time.
Well, you know, you've got a quarterback who fakes a handoff, but they don't sell it that well. Everybody's still coming. You got 5 guys chasing you, and you know that axiom in football, don't throw it late over the middle. And Matt Grudegood would have had this pick. He's just a center fielder out there, but everybody goes for that football, and it's close to being picked.
Calvin Barrett is the guy who gets in the face of Johnny Jones, and he's coming full tilt.
That's always a pleasant feeling when a guy 250 lands on top of you.
Actually, Bernard Thomas 56 with that big hit. Nothing up the middle. Brent Pollock with the punishment. Johnny Jones comes out a little gimpy, the quarterback for Florida. As you see, Galashaw getting up late as well. They were all folded up right in the middle. California tough up the middle.
Well, Brent Pollock has given this Florida offensive line all that they want. I mean, you look at a couple of series here, and we've talked more about him than we've talked about anybody on this defense. He's getting a lot of penetration, and when he gets there, he's trying to punish people.
Here's Robbie Wright now on his way to Harvard with a chance at a 32-yard field goal, the first points of the game. And he drills it right through, and Florida is on the board first. Well, they went a long way, and they definitely earned the 3 points, but California got a little stiff when it got down near the 10-yard line. Guys like DJ Williams and Marley Tucker and Matt Grudegood, they all said, no, not this time, not yet.
Well, I think it's a case also of Florida not having practiced that much together, and that's typical of an all-star game. You get a couple of plays together, and then you have one bad play. It's how you respond to that bad play and how you start to gel throughout the game. You try to gel throughout the week, and it's one thing to practice, but it's a whole other thing to do it against the speed and the players that are the caliber of this California defense.
13 plays, 63 yards, and 3 points. The kicker, Robbie Wright, also from Lakeland High School. You're starting to recognize that helmet now. Pretty good story. He's the best kicker in Florida, and during this week, Florida players went to the beach, Michael, and he found himself walking onto the set of one of the shows on the FX cable channel, Son of the Beach. Just walked over, started talking to some of the folks, and actually got invited to do a walkthrough. He's a background player, and just kind of talked himself right onto television in Southern California. A star is born.
Well, as his coach told him, you know, be politically correct in this, so when you get home, you don't get in trouble. Say they invited you onto the set, and he has had a good time. He's a great guy to talk to in that he had a chance to go to some schools that play Division I football, but he wanted the education, and you've got to applaud that.
Alvin Marshall and James Bethia are back, and it's Alvin Marshall at about the 8-yard line. Bit of space up the middle, sheds one guy. Alvin Marshall gonna run out of room at the sideline. The kicker was right there. Did he step out? The officials say no, let him play on. Alvin Marshall at the 20, one guy to beat, stiff arm it down at the 12. How did he stay in bounds, Mike?
I don't know how he did or if he did, but the officials say he got down.
The Florida players on the sideline are pointing at the chalk. They're saying he was out of bounds, 80 yards on the return. Seth Cumbie saves the touchdown for Florida.
Well, you've got a lot of good blocking up front, and that's the key. If you've got a kickoff return team that is not tentative, and these guys aren't used to playing special teams. They're the stars. You see him how he can fend off a lot of tackles in a burst of speed. Right there on the sideline, it's close, and the coaches are pointing, hey, he went out right there.
Michael, you say close and then you laugh, which means you think he was out?
It was mighty close.
At the 11-yard line is where they mark it. And Matt Castle in at quarterback for California. Throws out in the flat, got a man, and out at the half-yard line. Derek Johnson on the catch. Kid from Notre Dame High School in Sherman Oaks in the Valley, just north of Los Angeles. A quick throw.
Going back to the kickoff, you get another view here, and it is close. I see some chalk line there. Of course, we have the advantage of instant replay.
And the official was right behind him. They let him go. Well, he set him up right on the half-yard line now. Manuel White, the guy in the backfield, one of the best power runners in California history, but Matt Castle, going to keep it himself, just surges forward, flags. So hold on, no signal for touchdown yet. Castle walked into the end zone. And procedure against California, so don't put it on the board. It remains 3-0 Florida.
You'll see as California gets close to the goal line here, they've got an offense that spreads you out. Center's a little late with the ball there. There's a great push, and that's what you want out of your offensive line. Great push, and a quarterback that gets his nose down low, his pads down, like one of the linemen, and pushes his way in there.
Now backed up just outside the 5-yard line. Manuel White is still the guy deep behind Matt Castle, who's in for his first series. Sends White in motion. They said they'd throw all night. They'll throw from the 5. Castle, tuck it away, got pressure from behind. Big hit from Carlton Baker. And Mike, this is a guy you loved during the week in practice. You said watch out for 39.
Well, everybody talked about how there were certain players that were really good, and they talked about Eric Moore and his rep, but Carlton Baker was the guy that I thought stole the show out there today. He is always in the play, unbelievable speed, and even when he makes a bad step, he will make up for it, and he loves to hit people. He's like Rudiger. He loves the contact. He's headed into Arkansas, and they have just got to be frothy to know that he's going to be playing linebacker for him.
Glade Central High School and a big play there. Castle never saw him in the rearview mirror. 2nd down and goal. Matt Castle from Chatsworth on his way to USC. Backup Carson Palmer. Again, he's going to keep it. Castle, who plays defense during the year as well, not afraid of the contact. Gets inside the 5, and again, getting up and applauding himself, Carlton Baker, and it was a good effort.
Well, that's the one thing about him. He's a guy that has his motor running all the time. And sometimes the things he does aren't fundamentally sound, but he will go and find the football. And you love a raw talent like that in a defensive player.
Looks like California going to get a timeout as Matt Castle heads over to talk to Gene Vollnagel. And talking with Gene about his 3 quarterbacks this week, Mike, you know, he was pretty candid. He said, he told us the things he didn't like and the things he did like. And one of the things he really liked about Matt Castle, he said, this guy's a leader. He steps out here. He's got a good sense of humor. The guys tend to rally around him.
Well, I think that Matt Castle's the kind of guy that makes everybody around him better. He's truly a team guy, and that's intrinsic to his personality.
Derek Johnson in the backfield behind Castle, again from the 5-yard line. Matt Castle going to throw. Goes to the inside guy and a little bobble. Smith had it and then got dropped in a hurry. Sean Jones for Florida with the big hit.
California trying to run a little slip screen here, and the defense of Florida is aware of this. And the ball's a little bit high. He takes a minute to get his eyes on the ball, and there are just too many players from Florida. When you come back to the heart of this Florida defense, there are just too many good athletes that are going to recover and make a good play.
A 24-yard field goal. Sean Jones going to Mississippi State. He's the guy who made that last play. John Wall a chance to tie the game, but pushes it a little bit to the right. It stays outside the upright. Now a late flag, and maybe roughing the kicker. That's usually what happens. Wall was getting up as I saw the late flag come in. Wall not happy with his own effort. We'll check the call. Personal foul, roughing the kicker against Florida. Well, it's an all-star game, and we're going to expect to see some penalties, but this is the kind that David Wilson probably can't tolerate because this is just a mental error here.
Really, because, you know, you think of the fact that California had the ball on the half-yard line, and they were able to stop them. There's the kick, and at the end, you've got somebody diving across. You know, that's a hard thing to do. That's just good effort, and sometimes you're going to get your foot caught up there.
John Wall, of course, a great drama student, and Seth Cumbie came in and maybe got him, maybe didn't, but Wall did exactly what a kicker's supposed to.
Oh, he got him.
A little theatrics. Just sell it, make it easy. Take the decision away from the umpire, make it easy.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, the effort's there, and I think that, you know, it's hard to say that's a mistake. You know, if you go up and take a shot at a guy, then you get on a player and say, why do you do that? But he's just trying to make a play on special teams.
And a good player, first team All-State as a cornerback from Pace High School, Pensacola, on his way to Southern Miss. And now Chris Ricks back in at quarterback for California. A little bobble on the snap, and it looks like it might be procedure again against California, because Ricks tried to pull out of there and the ball never came. He had to step back in and wait for it. It's getting sloppy now. Offsides against Florida. Interesting.
Looked like the right side of the California offensive line had some early movement there.
So now a couple of penalties really set up California. Chris Ricks fires back into the huddle. They're going to have a first and goal from the 1-yard line. This is where they were a couple of minutes ago. Emmanuel White again in the backfield. I say that because that's the guy I'd hand it to. Like that. 5 years of junior college wasn't wasted on me, Michael. I learned a little something. Give it to big number 9 for 6.
You've got some big-time offensive linemen on both of these teams going against some very quick defenses. So in the short yard situation, you got to think that you want to take a dive. You look at the right side of this offensive line. Whap, whap. Everybody gets blocks. They hold their blocks and push them up the field. That makes it easy for the running back. And when you've got a running back as physical as Emmanuel White, you've got to take advantage of that in that short yardage situation.
How about the big seal block by the right tackle, Joe McGuire, just standing up and keeping everybody outside. Extra points is true, and California goes in front 7-3. So it was a nice drive, and Gene Boldnagel says, hey, we got our points, but I got a little sloppy at the end. Got to clean things up. I'll talk to Matt Cass when we come back to the Rose Bowl.
The first annual CaliFlorida Bowl is brought to you in part by Air 7 Sports, home of the Air 7 training camp. By far the best opportunity to develop your skills in every aspect of the sport of football. Come join us for our next session, August 3rd through the 6th in Santa Barbara. We'll also be offering an in-season training camp in Pasadena this September. And don't forget to mark your calendars for December 23rd, when we proudly present CaliFlorida Bowl 2 at the Los Angeles Coliseum. Don't miss it.
Hi, I'm Tony Kanza, founder of Blimpie. I'm just a simple sandwich man. I've been making these guys for over 35 years. And in that time, I've learned you don't need gimmicks to sell fresh baked bread, oven-roasted turkey, and crisp lettuce and tomato. I told our ad guys that basically, the sandwich speaks for itself. They said, great idea.
Simply Blimpie for the finest deli cuts around.
Simply Blimpie for a good, honest sandwich.
Back at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, Southern California, the CaliFlorida Bowl, the very first time. Best from California, the best from Florida, all graduating seniors, all going on to College Bowl. But not all the stars are strapping it on tonight. Some of them are talking to John Jackson on the sideline.
That's right, Jim. I got one of the stars of UCLA, Freddie Mitchell, star receiver for the Bruins. And first, Freddie, not only a good football game brings you here tonight, what else brings you out to the Rose Bowl tonight?
I have a cousin on the team, Johnny Mike, from Lakeland, Florida. So, you know, he's a good player. Got about 5 athletes from Lakeland actually representing the game, so it's going to be good.
Now, yeah, he's actually having a good night. And you tell me, did you have a chance to play in any all-star games, these high school all-star games? What do you think about it?
I like them, you know, especially when it's California versus Florida. I love this game. The Georgia-Florida game wasn't really exciting. You know, I didn't play in none of them because, you know, I wasn't allowed. So, you know, I like these games.
Hey, Jim, star of the future, Freddie Mitchell, back to you.
Star of the present as well. Enjoyed watching him play for UCLA along with Danny Farmer. Great wideouts. Of course, Rose Bowl's home to him. Johnny Wall put his foot into it. Kickoff. Johnny Mack, the cousin of Freddie, is back deep, but instead it's going to go to Chauncey Stovall. Stovall busts through the initial wall. Stovall down the sideline. And the kicker, John Wall, knocks him out of bounds, but a good return by Stovall. 30 yards.
Stovall with good effort, and again, it's good blocking on the kickoff return team, and anytime that your kicker is making a tackle, that will take a couple of years off your life as a coach. You don't want that guy coming down there. You see everybody's getting a block. There's a good wedge there. A lot of guys get bunched up there, and that's a problem in an all-star game. These guys aren't used to doing this, and right there, Wall with the touchdown saving tackle.
Florida changing things up offensively. We'll set them for you. Can we throw out the flat? And a good gain on first down. It's Tavares Capers with the catch. Now the new quarterback is Dominic Dunbar from Manatee and Bradenton. He's going to Louisville, or as they say in South, Louisville. He corrected me every time I was down there. Pretty good athlete, 3-sport star. In fact, he was in 3 events at the state track meet. Most improved on the hoop team as well. Heavily recruited in the Southeast, but he leaves the area. Goes up to Kentucky.
He's impressed coaches this week in practice and the things that he's done. Most of all, his decision-making process. They've been very happy with the things that he has done when looking at the Florida secondary in practice.
Alex Haynes now is the deep man in the eye. Dunbar keeps it himself. A called quarterback sneak. Ball is loose. Picked up by Thomas. Inside the 40 to the 36-yard line. Not going to find one much easier than that, are you, Thomas? And by the way, you can dance in this game.
Yeah, they're saying it's okay to dance, and I'm not a big fan of that, but that's fine. If Bernard Thomas wants to go out there, and it's okay. But you look at Dominic Dunbar, frustrated with what transpired on that, and Dominic Dunbar gets a snap okay. He takes off of this thing. It's designed for him to take off, and the ball with the hit right there by it looked like DJ Williams, and that won't surprise anybody that was a physical shot.
Yeah, Pat Norton wrapped him up, and then DJ came in and popped the ball loose. Thomas picked it up. And movement left side of the front line for California. Adrian Ayala stepping up.
It's a tough part of these all-star games. I mean, it really is, especially on the offensive line. You've got to play together, and you've got to play with guys on either side of you and work, and you're thinking about everything. Sometimes you forget the number. What's the count?
Matt Castle at quarterback for California. Out in the flat, big hits. Leroy Smith for Florida, bringing the leather.
Leroy Smith smells that thing all the way, and he's looking at the quarterback. And I think that's something that quarterbacks at the high school level don't necessarily do all the time, is try to look somebody out. They give it that cursory glance, but they don't really do it there. There's coverage there, and oh, you don't get your chance to turn around, and that is just a receiver's nightmare.
Now that was Morgan Booth, who's actually a quarterback for Little Pasadena Poly High School during the year. Division 13 school was invited to this game, so he's not used to taking those kind of hits.
And Morgan Booth has been playing safety in practice, and now he's out there at receiver, and you mentioned it, he was a quarterback.
Booth right there, and he's an interesting story because he said he didn't really feel like he belonged with all these guys playing. Pasadena Poly's in the smallest division, Division 13 out here, and he said most of the guys didn't know the number went that high, but then he said, well, I won a championship, and they could relate to that. You know, he had to get a leave of absence from his summer job, and his parents didn't really agree with it, just to play in this game.
So keep working.
Castle, 5-step drop. Castle wants to tuck it away as he feels the pressure, and he's going to have to eat it. It'll be 4th down now for California.
Well, Castle must have had a predetermined read there, because it looked as though he took his drop, didn't see anything, and decided to take off. Did not want to sit in that pocket unless there's some pressure there. And there's always going to be some pressure, but he's got a chance. He just decides to take off there. And right at the end, Lonnie Creighton just comes in unmolested and gets to the QB.
Lonnie Creighton on his way to Tulane. And Here's Kluwe back in to punt for California. 37 seconds to play in the first quarter. Capers, top of your screen, is back deep. And a fair catch signal, and then taken away. Stovall kind of waved the hand, but maybe he wishes he caught it. It was dragged backwards and dropped at the 3-yard line. Manuel Whites, first guy down for California. 33 yards on the kick and a 4-yard loss. I don't know, Mike, did he wave his hand? I thought he did.
I thought he did too, and then took it away. But, you know, California doesn't want that. They want the way this play ended up. And, you know, you've got to learn when you return punts, return kicks, north-south. Do not go east-west because everybody's coming down. It's not like on a regular play. Everybody got to start at the same spot, and they're all at relatively the same place. And if you run east to west, that's going to be the end result.
The ball now placed at the 5-yard line after the officials confer. First down for Florida, a long way to go. First guy through, nothing there. No gain.
That's pretty good at this point of attack for California up to this point. And again, I get back to, if I'm Florida, I think I attack the perimeter. I'm going to try to pitch that thing and get to the outside.
Haynes with the carry, Barrett with the tackle as the first quarter is exhausted at the Rose Bowl, the very first CaliFlorida game, 15 minutes in the book. Florida scored first, a field goal. California, Gene Voldego will come back. California 7-3 after 1.
The first annual CaliFlorida Bowl is brought to you in part by Air 7 Sports, home of the Air 7 training camp. By far the best opportunity to develop your skills in every aspect of the sport of football. Come join us for our next session, August 3rd through the 6th in Santa Barbara. We'll also be offering an in-season training camp in Pasadena this September. And don't forget to mark your calendars for December 23rd, when we proudly present CaliFlorida Bowl 2 at the Los Angeles Coliseum. Don't miss it.
Really like the new Camry. America's #1 selling car.
I love it.
For 3 straight years. The Toyota Camry.
I like the color.
A Consumer's Digest Best Buy. Works for me. Also for 3 straight years.
Let's do it.
It's that easy. At your
The American Cancer Society's Relay for Life brings hope to communities while it generates funds critical to the mission of eliminating cancer. Join friends and neighbors for 24 hours, September 9th and 10th at Oxnard High School as they light the darkness with hope. Your support of this event could help save the life of someone in our community, maybe even someone you know. Support the American Cancer Society's Relay for Life. Join or start a team today. Call 983-8864 for more information.
Well, first, there was dark red stains on the driveway. Then the transmission hesitated to shift when I put it into gear. Why was this happening?
For all of your automotive repairs, visit Tony's Transmission, whether it's preventative maintenance or complete transmission and automotive repairs. Tony's Transmission provides high-quality workmanship using premium parts to all cars, trucks, and vans, foreign and domestic.
Tony's Transmission is the answer.
Take the worry out of transmission auto repair. Visit Tony's Transmission and you'll be another satisfied customer.
04. Tiger sets his sights on the British Open crown. Complete coverage tonight.
Welcome back to the Rose Bowl, the CaliFlorida Bowl, 7-3 California after 1. You're in Southern California, and sometimes the line between athletes and celebrities gets blurred. One of those guys is standing by with our John Jackson.
That's right, Jim. I have a great celebrity here, Brian Bosworth. And Brian, first of all, I got to ask you, what brings you out tonight to such a great event?
Well, I've always been a big fan of high school football. You know, you just watch the athletes at their youngest stage and see them develop. You know, it's at their rawest form, and you get to see that kinetic energy happen at the very early age, and you get to start seeing a star is born at the very, very beginning. So it's really fun to watch them at this stage.
Now, after a great football career, you went on and really enjoyed a great acting career. How is that going right now?
You're being very kind. I'm working hard at the acting stuff. I've had some success. I've made about 9 different films. Finished one in December of '99. Should be out sometime in the next 6 months or so, probably an HBO project. I have a lot of fun with it. You know, it gives me a creativity that otherwise fills the void of not being able to be out here on the football field. So I do miss this game terribly. One of these days I'd love to maybe just put a hat on and the shoulder pads and then sneak out there under an assumed name, but I don't think it'll work.
Hey, well, Brian, thanks for the time. Jim, back to you.
A couple of big-time celebrities.
JJ's looking
Bosworth and JJ.
Looking as big as the boss.
JJ's been bulking up.
Yeah, he has.
Off-season conditioning for JJ. Right now, the backfield for Florida, a couple of Haynes, 28 Alex Haynes, 32 Derek Haynes, and Dominic Dunbar from Manatee High School, the quarterback. That's Alex Haynes from Evans High School in Orlando, going to Central Florida. On the 6-yard line, Dunbar sells the pass and gets dragged down in the end zone. They're going to call a safety? You bet. And it's Thomas having a night. He's already got a fumble recovery, and now he's got a safety.
We've talked about the penetration on the defensive line for California, and Bernard Thomas, who's headed to Nebraska, just comes in, inside move. Never let yourself get beat to the inside, and Dominic Dunbar really has no chance. Bernard Thomas just comes in unmolested, and that's what happens when you get a guy that runs 4.6 in the 40, a shot at the quarterback.
You saw Bob McQueen, the referee, immediately called the safety. Folks who haven't watched a lot of high school football as the show goes on for Bernard Thomas. Even though he threw it, he was going down in the end zone, and there was no receiver out in the flat, so they called Dunbar for really the intentional grounding, which is a safety in the end zone. 9-3 California now as we begin play in the second quarter.
You know, Bernard Thomas has that rare combination of good size, and I talked about the speed. When you've got somebody that's that size that can play in the defensive line, you know, you want that guy to run maybe a 4.9 or a 4.8. He's right in the 4.6 range, and if you look at him right there, obviously he passes the eyeball test, and he's pretty happy about the way things are going for himself and his California teammates.
He makes it 9-3. He's going to Nebraska, a two-time All-State selection. And he looks like he can play at the D1 level right now. Can't dance there, though. And so Florida will have to kick it back. Robbie Wright now with Bethea and Marshall, the deep guys. Alvin Marshall swings to his right, takes the ball on a second and third hop, and then gets tripped up. You can't leave the ball on the ground that long. Bethea tried to come over and help him out, but he just left that pig dying on the rug.
It's a live ball. Go get that ball. Don't let that thing flop around, because unlike in a high school game where you're the only real good player out on the field, everybody in an all-star game is good, and everybody is fast, and they're going to come down and get you.
Gene Boldnagel, 289. I'm talking with him earlier. He said he called home after a practice, was talking to his wife on the phone, and his voice was hoarse. And she said, honey, what's wrong with your voice? And he said, I was at practice all day. And she said, I thought they were all-stars. We did enjoy that one, didn't we?
He loves coaching these guys.
Chris Ricks back in. Straight arms a man. Good strength and a good athlete trying to get outside. Shovel pass. Good play by Chris Ricks. Alvin Marshall open field. Marshall spins across the 40. Now here he comes, Florida State. That's your Chris Ricks. 20-yard pickup to Alvin Marshall. And we talk about the athleticism on Chris Ricks. Watch his steps away from pressure with the straight arm. Stays on his feet, and then just a little flip.
Now, boy, talk about athletic ability and making things happen, but you're going to see a block here right at the end. Right there, it's James Bethea, whack, and it gives it that extra 5 yards, and you love seeing those guys run down the field getting hits.
Ball out to the 43-yard line for California. Daniel White stood up at the 44. A little bit of space, but it closed quickly. Big hit by Chad Moscow.
Moscow is going to a place where they enjoy big hits. He's headed to Florida State. And right here, bang! Boy, that's perfect tackling. You've got the guy wrapped up, your head's in there, and your feet keep driving. And that is a talent that is going to serve him well at the next level.
Well, Bobby Bowden gets a look at a couple of his guys. Chad Moscow on that play, just before that, Chris Ricks. And keep in mind that Chris Ricks, the quarterback who made that play, there he is, signed as a junior to go to Florida State. And that's a guy from California. They knew about him early. They came out and beat all the West Coast schools. Short drop. Strong ball, but the receiver turning out instead of in. James Bethea on the route. He turned outside, and the ball almost intercepted by Antoine Jones.
Well, we talked with Coach Volnagel about that throughout the week, and he said, yeah, you know, my quarterbacks are starting to catch on to this, and they're starting to learn the offense. But I don't know if my receivers are. And in this offense, you've got 2 receivers on each side. This time it's trips, and you've got guys that just don't seem to know what's going on there. And when we watch practice, it was usually the 2 receivers set on each side, and they really didn't run a lot of trips, which was that formation.
3 guys on the left side, and nobody was looking back at Chris Ricks. The ball almost intercepted Antoine Jones. Brings up a 3rd down and 8. Ricks again, a little bit of pressure. Steps out, holds, throws late across the middle. Not what you want to do. Ball intercepted. Thomas Matthews with the pick. Never laid across the middle, right, Mike?
Well, you're rolling right, and sometimes when you're on the move, you think that you can make a throw. It's not like standing in the pocket when you can just look down the field. You go over to your right, and you kind of throw it across your body, and I think it takes away from your accuracy. Obviously, your feet are not set. You don't get as much velocity on the ball, and you've got somebody from the backside who's trailing. And Thomas Matthews comes up with the big play, but just sneaking around there. You kind of just hang in there in the secondary, and you hope for that throw across the body.
Looked like he was trying to go to Bethea deep. Florida back on offense. Johnny Jones back in there, and he barely took a step away from center, and he was wrapped up. Bernard Thomas, have a night, why don't you, Bernard? Living the dream right now.
And Johnny Jones looked like he felt that the running back missed the play there. I think he wanted to hand that ball off. There was nobody there, and you know, a good quarterback will do that. Hey, I'm not going to have a fumble here. I'm just going to pull the ball away. If the running back's not ready for it, if he's not cognizant of what the play is, I'm just going to eat it.
9-3 California, just over 12 minutes to play in the first half from the Rose Bowl. Jim Watson, Mike Lamb, John Jackson on the sideline. Jones goes to his right, comes back. Ball on the ground. California says they have it. And they do. It's Marley Tucker.
Marley Tucker in the right spot. He is from that football power in Southern California at Long Beach Poly. He is headed up to Oregon, and this is the problem when you run an option offense. You've got the ball exchanging hands a lot, and right there, the hand pops in there, and then Marley Tucker, very opportunistic. You
Mike,
see it there, everything's clean.
Is this Thomas that strips this ball from behind right there, 56?
He is playing out of his gourd right now.
When do they get handed the player of the game sheets?
I know who the player of the game in Nebraska is right now.
He's going to love playing against that option. Eric Johnson goes in motion for California. Matt Castle back at quarterback. Yet to see Vossmeyer. Ball tipped and incomplete. MacArthur, the intended receiver.
Jeff MacArthur came in late. He played at Pacific Palisades. He's headed for Cal, and he did not come in with everybody else. He did not get a lot of practice throughout the week.
Matt Castle so far 3 for 4 through the air, and would make an argument. He should be 1,000% that ball could have been caught. Castle, as we mentioned, going to USC. Backup Carson Palmer there. Castle, a tough guy. We saw him play during the regular season out here on the West Coast. He plays defense, and he likes to bring it. Since Johnson in motion again, looks like the same alignment. Pump fakes. And again, the ball goes through the hands of a receiver. Tab Perry. I don't think Perry has a catch yet, does he, Mike?
No, and Tab Perry, obviously the hero on the other All-Star game he played in. He played in the California-Texas All-Star game, was named the MVP of that. Not great throws to Tab Perry, but he went up and got it and just took off on his own with his athletic ability.
Tab Perry going to play right here at the Rose Bowl for UCLA in the fall. He's from Milpitas High School. He looked at Florida for a little while. Well, Matt Castle, we mentioned, playing for Chatsworth High School and playing on both sides of the football. I went out and talked to him. He says he likes to play defense. He comes up, and I told you, he's a big guy, Mike. He likes to bring it a little bit, especially against a smaller running back. He's got a good arm and good field presence as well. Chatsworth High School, a city school in Los Angeles, and again on his way to USC.
Stuff like that is going to bring you the respect of your teammates. You know, quarterbacks take a shot from time to time, and linemen and defensive players say, yeah, you're a quarterback because you have pretty teeth and you know how to comb your hair. But a guy that came up and played a safety spot, is not afraid to put some wood on somebody, is a type of player that guys on defense and your linemen are going to say, I know you know what it's about. I know you've been beat up and beat somebody up before. You're okay.
Gene Vollnagel with a bit of a grin there, starting to enjoy things just a little bit. Of course, Vollnagel knows more about high school football just about anybody in California, so let's listen in.
Yeah, we got to. We'll come back with it, okay? Here we go. Here we go. What do we call? Okay, here we go. 57. Let's go.
57, Michael, can you help us?
No, 57 is their, I believe, is their 50 series pass protection. But then what they do is they just number their plays, and they don't say pop right, you know, option right.
I didn't have a clue. 3rd down and 10, so you might expect a pass. The time still in the first half, and for all the mistakes Florida's made, they're only one play out of the lead right now. Castle with Emmanuel White behind him. Good protection. Now steps up into the pressure, eludes a couple of guys, and a second chance to throw. And he's got Tab Perry. First down inside the 35 to the 33-yard line. Thomas Matthews on the coverage, 17 yards on the catch.
Well, it's nice to have escapability, and that's something that Chris Ricks has shown and something that Matt Castle has shown. And finally, Tab Perry gets a catch. When you get in the pocket and you've got penetration, you've got to be aware, and that's what you call pocket awareness. You've got two guys on you there. You step to your left, take a shot at the end, and you find Tab Perry, who is just a fine athlete, good hands, and he likes to run with the football after he makes the catch, always looking to make a big play.
A Trojan throwing to a Bruin. For Castle's sake, I hope that's the last time that happens, huh? Emmanuel White spins inside the 30-yard line. You know, Castle's a big guy for a quarterback, but we're getting used to seeing this now on the high school level. Right. Castle, as a quarterback, goes 6'5", 220 pounds, and I'd say he's a little bit heavier than that right now. I stood next to him in practice the other day and talked with him. And he's a big guy, especially for a quarterback.
You know, he is, and obviously we showed the clip where he's playing defense. He is a football player. You just have to love his attitude, though. You see him in the very first practice and the very first drill, and he's always talking to the guys around him, trying to make them better, and he's got a great sense of humor. Everybody loves him.
He empties out the backfield. He sends Johnson in motion. He looks for Johnson, covered. Big strip run behind. The ball is loose. It ends up in the hands of the offensive lineman. It's Adam Snyder, and the crowd responds. Big Adam says, give me the rock.
Adam Snyder, Lucerna High School, out in Whittier. He's headed up to Oregon, 6'5", 270. And that's who the true athletes are right there. And I think Adam Snyder proved that the O-linemen are the guys that everybody comes to see. Right there, little hold there by Snyder. The ball gets away. He's thinking all the time, the smart guys on the offensive line, and then he takes off. That, my friends, is a cat-like athlete.
Did he change hands with the football, Mike?
Knocks the guy's helmet off the end. Adam Snyder, take that piece of video, show that to your grandkids.
Adam Snyder moves the chains. It's a first down, 21-yard line for California. Castle, a little misdirection. They showed us this in practice the other day. MacArthur breaks the tackle, still on his feet. A couple of blocks downfield. I'll tell you what, for an all-star game, we get about the amount of penalties I expect, but there's been some pretty good downfield blocking.
There really has been. I think there's been a lot of blocking like you expect to see. Abram Elam with a shot at the end there on Jeff MacArthur. And I'll tell you what, if Jeff MacArthur had cut this thing back inside, I think he would have gotten into the end zone. But he stays with his blockers. To his credit, the big guys are out there, and he gets held up at the end there, and you're going to see Adam Elam
Maybe after the whistle, is that what I heard there? Abram Elam from Cardinal Newman High School. It's in Palm Beach. He's going to Notre Dame. California again sends Derek Johnson in motion. And it looks like it might be encroachment on Florida. David Harley stepped across and couldn't get back in time. David Harley from Lincoln High School, Tallahassee, going to play at Marshall. And of course, his head coach tonight, David Wilson, was his high school head coach.
It's interesting as we talked to Dave Wilson throughout the week. He said, I don't know how these players know about this player. These players are aware. And you know, there's a lot more awareness by the players because of the internet, because of student publications. And all these players in Florida consider themselves the best high school football players. And all the players in California consider themselves the best. And that's why you're getting the physical hitting and the type of play that we've seen tonight.
Saw a quick shot of Eric Moore, who we called the best player in the state of Florida, #1, but so far California's kept all over him. Derek Johnson in the open field makes the catch and then just stumbles to his knees all by himself.
He's going to regret that. And we talked about that at the top of the broadcast, how that flat is going to be open. I mean, you cannot cover the entire field when you've got 4 receivers and sometimes 5 with the back out of the backfield. Something is going to be open, and that time Derek Johnson had the chance, wide open, but he just slips and some of the loose turf out there.
Oh, it's July. Those are beach legs, aren't they?
I don't know. I didn't see any beach legs at practice this week when it was 104 in Monrovia.
Oh, yeah. These guys all week long practicing in well over 100-degree heat. Castle, quick drop in the flat. Manuel White. They used to run this for him in high school, and Manuel White used to do that and take it in the end zone. Touchdown, California.
Manuel White, big stud running back out of Valencia. You see there his career rushing numbers, and this is essentially the same play. They drop it out to the back in the flat. Manuel White gets it, takes off on the run, and good blocks downfield. See a nice push by Jeff MacArthur, and Manuel White, the physical back that he is, gets it in the end zone, and he is headed to UCLA.
Extra point by Cluey, and he misses it as he yanks it. And so it remains 15-3. Manuel White, who prepped at Valencia High School just north of the Rose Bowl, will be here in the fall. He's signed for UCLA, 15-3.
The first annual CaliFlorida Bowl is brought to you in part by Air 7 Sports, home of the Air 7 training camp. By far the best opportunity to develop your skills in every aspect of the sport of football. Come join us for our next session, August 3rd through the 6th in Santa Barbara. We'll also be offering an in-season training camp in Pasadena this September. And don't forget to mark your calendars for December 23rd, when we proudly present CaliFlorida Bowl 2 at the Los Angeles Coliseum. Don't miss it.
There is a place where the faithful have no limits, where we can rejoice in the sound of thunder, a celebration for all true believers. Speed Vision!
Saturday nights on Speed Vision at 11 Eastern, it's Hot Rod and Biker Flicks at the Lost Drive-In. And the season revs up with Speed Vision Road Racing F1 and everything that moves on motorcycles. Every week on Speed Vision.
Live to the beat of your heart, and you will see the light!
Manuel White goes 14 yards on the catch and carry into the end zone. The extra point is missed. California's lead swells to 15-3. But if you take a look at the replay, it almost didn't happen because of Eric Moore on the corner.
Well, you see Matt Castle just a one-step drop there, and Eric Moore almost gets that. And with his skills, if he'd have gotten his paws on that football, I think he would have shot about 80 yards the other way.
Eric Moore, a great athlete, Pahokee High School, going to Florida State. But Manuel White will be a Bruin in the fall, UCLA. He played 50-yard drive, 323, and a touchdown for California.
It's kind of not natural there in that powder blue on the Rose Bowl sideline, doesn't he?
Likes this field already, doesn't he?
Yep. And I think he's a guy that obviously is going to be able to play at this level. A big back, quick back, and fundamentally he's very sound.
Galashaw, Mack, and Stovall back deep again for Florida. They've been back there a couple of times. This is Stovall at the 7-yard line. Stovall behind the wedge to the 20.
Matt, pretty good.
You've been dying to say it, haven't you?
Well, he just, you know, the coach has said he's a heat-seeking missile, and I've called him that his entire career. Here's a guy that doesn't want to talk a lot. He just likes to play football, and he loves to hit people. And he's going to come right through the wedge and make the play and punish the guy. Not too many guys that play safety are willing to go in there and crash the wedge, but obviously Matt Grudegood has no fear.
Once again, a full Lakeland backfield for Florida. Ball thrown to the flat. Capers can't reach this one. He's listed at 5'9", not in this lifetime, and he couldn't get that ball. Thrown a little bit high. Great athlete, Capers. Walked out of practice, Mike. I was there 2 minutes, and I said, who's 7? He was slicing across the middle, making catches, but he's a little guy.
Well, you know, in these all-star games, I think that that is something that you realize immediately. People get caught up in how tall and how fast and how much somebody weighs. It doesn't necessarily mean much when you've got a guy like that who can run a 4.5.
Great athlete, Jackson High School in Miami, going to Central Florida. 4.5 40. Flag on the field. Procedure against Florida. David Bass moving. Well, for David Wilson, he's faced with a bit of a dilemma now, Mike. He's in an option offense, and he finds himself down a dozen before the half. Do you change things up? Do you stay with it right now?
Well, I think that you have to, because that's what you've practiced all week, and that's what you've installed. But that's the danger of this type of offense, and that's why you don't see a lot of wishbone across the country. That's why you don't see a lot of multiple eye, because if you get behind, you don't have the drop-back passing attack at your disposal.
Jones taking his time. There's Mack and Roberts in the backfield. Keeps it. Steps up inside. Pitches late to Mack. And out to the 29-yard line. And a flag follows this one out of bounds. Marley Tucker was the guy on Mack. And you got to think either it's a face mask or a late hit on Tucker.
Probably a late hit. And we've talked about this throughout the first half of this football game. That's the way you attack California's defense. They haven't seen this option. Don't do the give. Get it outside with your speed and pitch the ball. California has had a problem with getting the right men on the pitch man.
That's Johnny Jones, the quarterback, and he's tapping that left ankle. He pitched late, and somebody might have rolled on that ankle behind the play. Face mask against Marley Tucker and California, so that's going to move it further down the field. And Florida's a team in desperate need of a couple of breaks right now, and they find their quarterback sitting on his back.
Johnny Jones is very comfortable running this offense. It's something he has done, and handles the ball very well and waits till the last second, and that is the key. He's already turned it up, and at the end there he gets his ankle rolled up on. But if you're going to run an option offense, that's one of the dangers. You've got to be worried about your quarterback getting hurt, because he's the guy that makes these types of offenses work.
Now they're going to carry Johnny Jones off the field. Take a look at him. Of course, in all-star games, you just never like to see this happen. These guys all come out here and participate. It's all for a good cause, the Ronald McDonald House in Los Angeles. And so John Jackson's on the sideline for us, and he'll check it out, find out exactly the seriousness of the injury. In the meantime, Dominic Dunbar will come back in, number 10 for Florida, from Manatee High School. Face mask moves the ball all the way out across the 40, near the 43-yard line. So Dunbar at least finds his offense near midfield. Dunbar can run the ball, a state track guy in 3 different events, so the option really suits him. And there Johnny Jones on the sideline, you can see wincing in a lot of pain. And Mike, those are the kind of injuries at first it just tweaks a little bit, but the longer you lay there, the more it hurts sometimes.
Well, when it's warm, you don't think it's too bad, and as time goes on, you're thinking to yourself, boy, this thing is going to be painful, and it may take me a while. When you get rolled up in that high ankle sprain, like it looked like it was for Johnny Jones, those things are painful, and unfortunately, they take a long time to heal.
And you wonder how Florida reacts to that a little bit. Johnny Jones on his back on the bench. They're going to take the shoe off and get a closer look at the ankle. In the meantime, Dominic Dunbar comes in. Florida down 15-3. We come back, 8:15 to play in the first half. CaliFlorida Bowl 1.
The first annual CaliFlorida Bowl is brought to you in part by Air 7 Sports, home of the Air 7 training camp. By far the best opportunity to develop your skills in every aspect of the sport of football. Come join us for our next session August 3rd through the 6th in Santa Barbara. We'll also be offering an in-season training camp in Pasadena this September. And don't forget to mark your calendars for December 23rd, when we proudly present CaliFlorida Bowl 2 at the Los Angeles Coliseum. Don't miss it.
I won! Hey, buddy, I won!
Excuse me?
I won!
Winners of the old Super Lotto jackpot have been known to hug complete strangers for up to 7 seconds.
I won.
But now, that's all about to change. Introducing Super Lotto Plus. Now with a starting jackpot of $7 million and 9 ways to win a prize.
Mel, over here. I really won! I'm very happy for you.
Johnny Jones, the Florida quarterback, continues to receive medical treatment. That ankle rolled up on during that last play. Dominic Dunbar has come in to replace him. On the far side, the news is much better for California. They just scored another touchdown. Manuel White taking it in from 14 yards out. Nobody could catch him except our John Jackson.
That's right, Jim. I did catch up with Manuel. And Manuel, 2 touchdowns already today. You have 1 running, 1 receiving. You have to be pleased so far.
Oh, yeah. My line is doing a great job out there for me. Plus, we have all these weapons on the team that, you know, we have such great receivers. They're not looking for anything coming from the running back. So, you know, that's leaving me open a little bit.
Hey, I'll let you get back. Manuel, thanks for the time. Jim, back to you.
Manuel White, those couple of touchdowns, and as we mentioned a couple times already, we'll play right here at the Rose Bowl. UCLA, Bob Toledo, the head coach, an All-American in high school, Manuel White, and he broke the area rushing record, which was held by a kid from Notre Dame High School in Sherman Oaks named Justin Vargas, who of course is a running back at the University of Michigan right now. So a pretty high mark. Dunbar shows it and then hands it to Mack. Mack breaks 1 tackle, spins, runs into Capers, his own guy, and now a flag. The flag comes in late.
Bernard Thomas taking a shot at Dominic Dunbar after he had pitched the football. So they're going to tack some on at the end of this run.
Personal foul against California. You know, and you always hear announcers, Mike, say, well, that's a bad time for that. It's never a good time for a penalty like this, but they're just helping Florida's cause right now.
Never, ever a good time, and doesn't take away from a good run here. And you don't think it's physical out there? And then there's another shot there a little late by Calvin Barrett. You see Mack twisting, and he's down and right there.
Capers delivered a pretty good hit on his own guy. Calvin Barrett, the guy jumping in late and drawing that flag, did it right in front of the official. Well, it's an all-star game, and sometimes guys will mail it in, but that's not happening tonight. There's some good hitting going on.
You have not seen that in any case with any of these players. Everybody has played at a very high level.
Calvin Barrett, one of those guys going to Wisconsin. Wisconsin's done a great job recruiting in Southern California this year. They got a couple of big names out of here. There's the pitch, Mack again. I like the looks of Johnny Mack. He just really shuffles, a shifty runner. Tough to get a clean hit on him. Scampers out of bounds, stops the clock, 7:57 now to play. DJ Williams on the pressure along with Ricardo Stewart.
You know, Mack does do a good job in that he waits for his blockers to get up there, because I think he is aware of the fact that you're not going to outrun this defense, and you need someone at the point of attack. Don't look for every play to be 60 yards. Take 4 yards, take 5 yards.
Coffeyville JC, that's in Kansas in the fall. Dunbar, short drop and a throw to Capers, who picks it up right off the turf, knocked forward down near the 26-yard line. So a nifty little drive now being put together by Florida with the help of a couple of penalties against California.
Well, and you saw Calvin Barrett that time, comes from the defensive line and comes over and makes this play. You talk about guys playing at a high level. He comes in, gets a pass rush, sees the ball dumped out, and when the receiver turns it back, oh, don't turn back into the defensive tackle. You're going to hurt yourself.
Calvin Ferret taking a knee over on the California sideline, waiting to get back in. Clock running, 7:42 now, and a first down for Florida. Yalishaw and Mack, and it's Mack again. Mack outside, finally tripped up. Looked like he might be able to get around the corner, but Ricardo Stewart able to knock him off his feet. You mentioned Johnny Mack before and the way he runs. As a former offensive lineman, played in the Pac-10. What's it like having a guy behind you that waits for blocks to set up like that? Do you want to work a little harder for a guy like that?
Well, I think so. I think you're aware of that, and I think the smart running back will do that because of the fact that things are going to open up for you and that you're not going to outrun people. You want to get somebody to get a push on them so that you can attack, and I think that's something that these backs in this game are going to learn tonight.
Dunbar turns, pressure right away, never had a chance. Kenichi Udeze coming quick, right on the snap.
Well, and interesting because Kenichi did not have shoes this week. He's walking around in his socks, and maybe he's got some fresh legs. Comes in, gets a nice inside penetration, uses his hands, and I tell you what, he smelled that play out from the beginning. He was reading the mail of Dominic Dunbar.
6'5", 280 from Bourbon Day High School. It's in downtown Los Angeles. And he'll stay there and go to USC.
Keeping him home.
Dunbar now, 3rd and 14 for Florida. Play action, gonna throw. Got a man, but there's some coverage there as well. The ball is intercepted. Picked off by Sam Cunningham. Cunningham all the way back across the 50-yard line. 48 yards on the return. Getting the California folks on their feet.
Sam Cunningham playing the corner spot over there. Played at Westchester High School. He's headed for Oregon, and that is a gift for Sam Cunningham. And it's one thing to get the pick, but what you see on this play is the fact that Sam Cunningham's got the patience. He's watching the quarterback. Great position there on man coverage, and then does a nice job returning this football. And he's got some blockers out there. Find those blockers.
First down now for California at the 48-yard line of Florida. Quick throw out in the flat. Alvin Marshall get about 4 yards.
Carlton Baker in there making the quick play again, and I think Florida's getting somewhat heft to that little drop out to the flat by the back, out of the backfield.
John Jackson with an injury report from the sideline. JJ, what's up?
Hey, quick update on Johnny Jones. He has an injured, twisted left ankle. Now, the interesting thing about it is this ankle he broke last year during the season, so it's more scary than anything right now, Jim, but he's trying to get back. He's trying to walk off the injury, and he says he should be able to return. Back to you.
Vosmeyer now into the game. Kid from Crescenta Valley High School to Derek Johnson. Johnson breaks one tackle. Johnson inside the 40 near the first down marker and might have enough.
Little screen to the left side for California, and the big guys get out there. Vosmeyer just drops that thing off, and when you pick up a screen, you've got to work. But the big guy, Jonathan Klinkscale, comes out. He's headed for Wisconsin. Played his high school football right here in Pasadena at Muir High School. Gets a nice block and enables California to get the first down.
Scott Vosmeyer, the quarterback, turns and hands to the first guy through. And Vosmeyer is a guy who got just some tepid reaction from people early recruiting-wise. And then as the year wore on, all of a sudden people found this guy. Early on, San Diego State was after him, then USC came after him late. He eventually signs with the Oregon Ducks and go up to Eugene and play. But Vosmeyer, just watching him in practice, Mike, I saw him at the beginning of the year, much improved, just became a man over the last 8 months, a much bigger guy, delivers a real nice football, and now has an air of confidence about him.
Well, he's a 60% guy, and I think that's kind of the magic number you want. in your quarterback, somebody that can complete 60% of the passes. And he's another guy that played some defense.
DJ Williams is in the backfield, but Vossmeyer going to stay on his feet. Right on cue, the quarterback pounds his way to the 15-yard line.
Well, you expect to see that out of the Florida quarterbacks, but you weren't anticipating that from this trio of quarterbacks in California. These guys are thought of in this offense as drop-back guys, but Scott Vossmeyer showing he's got what it takes to run an option, keeps it, because he knows he's the niftiest runner on the field, puts his head down, and picks up the first down.
And go up to Eugene and maybe start getting the comparisons to Achilles Smith, huh?
Let's not go wild.
Thanks for bringing me back. 6'3", 230 the size on Vossmeyer. Now he's going to throw. Ball deflected in the air and almost intercepted. A great play by Shante Williams. Shante from Pine Forest in Pensacola. Another one of those guys going to Coffeyville JC in Kansas, but tipped that ball in the air and had a chance maybe at a pick and a run.
Oh, you look at Shante Williams, you can see the size, 6'7", 240 pounds, and he just gets good penetration. He's looking at the quarterback all the way. He's got an idea that he's going to spy that out there. He's getting hep to that, and I think defensively the coaches are telling these guys, hey, I'm tired of getting killed with this little drop-off pass here. Get in there and try to pick that thing off, and Shante Williams almost grabs that one.
And California's been throwing that short ball a lot to the left side, so he put a 6'7" guy on the corner. Alvin Marshall with a couple of big hogs in front of him. Inside the 10, Marshall falls inside the 5 to the 3. 13 yards on the run.
You talk about the big guys out there, and he's got Jonathan Klingscale, who we talked about before, played his high school ball right here, and Adrian Ayala from St. Bonaventure High School. He's headed to Arizona State. Jonathan Klingscale headed out to Wisconsin, and this is what you want to see. It's that Trey O blocking on the backside, and they're so far out there, there's nobody out there, that they just tried to flail their bodies around.
You're that big, just get in the air and hit somebody.
Good inertia coming around on the backside.
First and goal now from the 3-yard line. Vossmeyer put together a good drive for California. Derek Johnson hits and spins to the 1. Abram Elam with the tackle for Florida, kept him out of the end zone.
You know, you don't want to oversimplify these games, but if you get an offensive line that's going to get some push and can get off on the right snap count, you're going to have some success. And up to this point, California's offensive line, not only are they playing a physical brand of football, but they look like they're having fun. Because I make a lot of that, the bodies are flying, but these guys are throwing their bodies around. Look at Joe McGuire right there, and he's a player that's at the right tackle spot, head to USC, that this California staff has been very high on him. And they talk about good feet, and that's the highest compliment you can give an offensive lineman.
Vossmeyer empties the backfield, has trips left, keeps it himself, stopped initially, and then he tries to get in over the left side. The officials say no touch. He's short by about 6 inches. Chad Masco kept him out. Masco, you know, Vossmeyer hit him right about the half-yard line, and normally a guy will fall into the end zone.
And Scott Vossmeyer would have to do this on his own. And when you do this, when you're the quarterback, you've got to get your pads down. And you know who really has always done a great job of that is Randall Cunningham. He kind of waits a count and lets everybody go, and then he picks a spot, because right there was penetration in the middle of the line. Had he gone to the right or gone to the left, I think he could have snuck it in.
California a little bit confused. Now Florida's going to call the timeout. California late getting back into the huddle, and Florida wants to get a timeout to get things straight. Well, it's an important time of the game for both clubs, but obviously for Florida, an option team cannot afford to get down here 22-3 going into the half. Now, plenty to talk about at the half here at the Rose Bowl. Of course, the players here doing some business as well as having some fun and playing some football. They visited the Ronald McDonald House in Los Angeles. The beneficiary, all proceeds from the CaliFlorida Bowl 1 here at the Rose Bowl. Also, John Jackson will talk with the coach, John Quintero, for our friends on the East Coast. John Quintero, of course, hosts a sports show here on Talk Radio and knows an awful lot about high school football, not just locally, but nationally as well. And, of course, we'll look at the numbers and the tape from the first 30 minutes of high school/college football. Remember, these guys are still prepsters, but they're all done with high school. They've all graduated. Now they're going on to college. We're at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, CaliFlorida Bowl 1. Jim Watson, Mike Lamb, John Jackson on the sideline for us. California down 3-0, has responded with 15 straight points and really starting to take control of this thing.
They are, and I think Florida is in a precarious situation because if they give up a touchdown here, they're going to have a hard time coming back in the second half with the type of offense that they run.
Well, how good is this backfield, Mike? This is a dream right now. The two guys standing behind Scott Bosmeyer are DJ Williams and Manuel White.
There's some beef.
And movement up front, they got a little too excited. Procedure. Now, Bob McQueen's getting more face time than you and I. Seen an awful lot of him tonight.
Thank goodness for that.
Buck 19 to go in the first half.
You're going to see the right side of the California offense. Everybody moves over here, and even the left guard. And there has just not been that cohesion between the line and the center. A couple times the center's gone early, a couple times he's gone late, and got to believe that's something that's going to be addressed at halftime.
They keep DJ Williams, the only guy in the backfield. He rushed for over 1,000 yards. He was an all-state linebacker, but everybody forget how good he was offensively. They give it to him. Steps through, and a lot of company there. Florida filling that hole, and lots of hats on the football. Moscow, one of the guys in there, along with Eric Moore. Nothing for DJ.
And the Florida defense really did a nice job that time of coming up. They anticipated run. And sometimes it's a matter of guessing right. If you're the defensive coordinator and you feel in your heart and you look at the tendencies that they're going to run, you stick your defense in there and protect against that. And I think it was critical for Florida not to give up the touchdown there.
Keep in mind that Morgan Booth, the holder, is a quarterback and can throw the ball. Morgan Booth rolling. Morgan Booth throws, and the ball is intercepted in the end zone, and now it's loose and scooped up. Whistles, and I think they'll just call it incomplete. Abram Elam was the guy in the end zone for Florida to knock that one away, so California gets all the way down to the 6-inch line. Gene Bullnagel and the locals come up empty. Nice play by the Florida defense.
And Morgan Booth is the holder on this. You pointed out, Jim, it's a bad snap. He bobbles it, and he calls fire. Everybody rolls out, and Morgan Booth tries to make something happen. He thinks he's got somebody there, but when you've got somebody getting ready to plant you in the grass, it's not easy to make a great throw, and a nice play by Abram Elam.
The snap was a little bit wide, and Morgan Booth did exactly what you're supposed to do, pick it up, try to make something happen. And remember, Pasadena Pauly, he was a quarterback. He's playing out of position tonight. Almost turned it into 6. And now if you're Florida, Mike, I guess you just sit on it. 30 seconds to go, and a long way with an option offense.
I think you're right, and I don't think you want anything bad to happen. You want to protect that football at all costs.
California's going to call timeout. David Wilson looks up at the scoreboard and starts to do the math. Let's see if California has one timeout. Can we run this thing out? Bullnagel, 289 career victories. And after being one of the most successful coaches in the country in high school, he retires, becomes an assistant coach for John Barnes at Los Alamitos, a great passing school, goes down and coaches the line. And we talked about the talent on both rosters. Look at all the California guys that are staying on the West Coast, and this is a trend that has been reversed in recent times. For a long time, Mike, Wisconsin, Florida, some of the Midwest schools were coming in and raiding the cupboard. Now look at all these guys staying home. SC and UCLA with 17, keeping them here in LA.
Of course, that having been said, though, two of the star players for California, Chris Ricks and DJ Williams, are headed for Florida.
Well, you can't get everybody.
Well, you got to try.
Ricks going to Florida State. He signed as a junior. And remember, Chris Ricks, who's been playing quarterback for California tonight, was at Bishop Vermont when he signed and then transferred to Santa Margarita for his senior year. And DJ Williams, everybody wanted DJ Williams. Everybody was talking to him. Florida State had a chance at him. California also. The next teammate of his, Atari Callan, plays at Cal. They both played at De La Salle High School together. De La Salle is near the Berkeley campus of the University of California.
They wanted DJ Williams at the University of Moscow. Everybody wanted that guy.
Hey, they're good this year. 15-3 in 17 seconds. California gets another timeout. Volnagel want the football back?
I think so. I think there's a little frustration at being down at the goal line and not getting it in.
Volnagel began coaching high school football in Southern California back in 1953. Of course, coached at both Banning and Carson, and those two schools don't like each other all that much. Finally retired in 1990. He's third all-time on the state win list at 289. And look at that bottom line, Mike. 84% of the time, his team's finished either first or second, 18 city titles to go with it.
Well, when he was coaching at Banning and Carson, they were the dominant football teams in Southern California. You talk about a guy who loves football. When he retired as the head coach, he takes an assistant's position at Los Alamitos High School, which is where he lives, and coached with John Barnes, and they've been extremely successful with that program in the 10 years that Gene Volnagel's been in the system.
Florida going to take a knee, and California is out of timeout, so that should do it for the first half. Florida, you can see they're anxious to get into the locker room. Florida, you know, good and bad, Mike. They're down 15-3, but they have to feel a bit fortunate that California was kept out of the end zone and then blew that field goal attempt.
And I think that if you're Coach Dave Wilson, that's exactly what you talk about when you go in at halftime. Like, guys, look, it's an all-star game. I don't expect you to come out and play perfect. We've been lucky. Now let's clean it up, and let's show everybody back home what we can do.
Well, Manuel White is the guy who's put California in the end zone twice, once on a short run, and the second one on a little flare pass. And Manuel White was known as a power runner between the tackles, but when he gets outside, he can show a little speed. He's been working on the footwork.
Well, I think you do see speed there, and I think you see a guy who has gotten comfortable with catching the ball out of the backfield, and then you see he's got a nose for the end zone, knocks over two guys on his way in, and a photographer. That a baby, Manuel. Put everybody down.
Get back behind the line. Manuel White, 2 touchdowns, and of course, as you've mentioned a couple of times, and I know Bob Toledo's at home saying, you can say it again, he'll be playing for the Bruins in the fall. He disappears into the tunnel, but he'll be back, and we will too. But first, let's go down to John Jackson, who's standing by with the California head coach, Gene Volnagel.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. And Coach, 1 week of practice, you got to be impressed with the way your offense is moving the ball.
We're doing pretty good, although we're better. And if our quarterbacks will settle down a little bit and receivers settle down, we should make it entertaining in the second half, hopefully.
Now, Bosmeyer, Ricks, and Castle, that stable of quarterbacks, tops in the country, it must have been pretty easy coaching them this week.
It's enjoyable. You know, there's something about chicken salad and that, you know, that kind of stuff. Anyway, yeah, those 3 guys are good.
Hey, Coach, good luck in the second half. Jim, back to you.
Gene Volnagel always comes up with something a little bit colorful and makes you a little bit nervous sometimes as well, Michael. 15-3, California on top of the Florida All-Stars, but a lot of talent in that Florida locker room, squeezing something out of the orange.
You know, most men get pretty shook up about losing their hair. But today, many of them are learning about Bosley Medical. They use your own living hair to fill in the thin spots. Just look at that. It really works. You can treat it like real hair because it is real hair. Your own naturally growing hair. So you don't have to worry about it.
Bosley Medical is the world's most experienced hair restoration practice. For over 25 years, they have performed more than 130,000 procedures using the innovative micrografting techniques pioneered by founder Dr. L. Lee Bosley.
Each surgeon at Bosley Medical is board certified and individually trained by me.
So if you want to have your own naturally growing hair back, call this number for more information. We'll send you this free video and in-depth guidebook that gives you the real facts about hair restoration. There's no cost and absolutely no obligation. So do it for yourself. Call now and get the real results you've been looking for.
It's your real hair.
You can't.
Get your rods and reels together for the 4th annual Night Bass Fishing Tournament. This event will take place at Lake Casitas on Saturday, August 12th. Proceeds for this event will benefit the Muscular Dystrophy Association. You may also have an opportunity to enter and win many donated gifts, including several trips to Las Vegas, Laughlin, or Tahoe. Entries are limited, so call 647-0685 or stop by Jones Intercable for your application. Sponsored in part by Jones Intercable.
This August, Lifetime's all new, all month long. First,
It's what I feel. You're a 16-year-old kid.
Stockard Channing stars in the Lifetime original movie, The Truth About Jane. Then,
I will never give you the children.
The Sopranos' Lorraine Bracco stars in the Lifetime original movie, Custody of the Heart. Plus, every Sunday night, all new episodes of Any Day Now, Strong Medicine, and Beyond Chance. It's all new, all month long. This August on Lifetime.
The Last Word, weeknights at 6:30 and 11:30 on Fox Sports Net.
CaliFlorida Bowl 1 at the Rose Bowl, Pasadena, Southern California, on a very warm night. California on top of Florida, 15-3. It's been a great trip for the Florida guys. Some of the California guys, of course, live right here in town. David Wilson, we had a chance to visit with him out of practice a couple of times. What a great guy he is to just sit around and talk to. Tells you a lot of great stories. And he's had a very, very successful year, not only coming here to coach this game tonight, but back home, he finished up his most successful season of all time in the 6A championship in Florida as they win it at the Swamp. Trojans of Lincoln High School. He gets the Gatorade shower. And for all his trouble, he's named the All-Star head coach, carried off the field. And when he comes to California, he gets a little star treatment in Hollywood as he ends up on Fox Sports Net, the Dodger pregame show with Paul Sunderland. Doesn't get any bigger than that, does it?
No, that's got to be the biggest thrill for Dave Wilson coming out here. You know, interesting talking to him. He really was taken with the fact that this game was in the Rose Bowl. He talked to us about college football, although he is down coaching in Tallahassee and obviously loves FSU. Talked about Notre Dame, talked about USC and that rivalry and how much it meant to him to be in this stadium. And a part of that, you alluded to the fact that he's grabbing grass. You know, he's a notorious grass taker from famous stadiums across the country.
Meanwhile, Johnny Jones, his starting quarterback, who was carried out the field and then limped into the locker room, looks much better right now. Looks like he got the tape redone, stretched it out a little bit. It doesn't appear to be serious at all.
Well, John Jackson talked about it in his report, the fact that Jones had suffered a broken ankle, and now it's something that's probably in his mind. There's a certain psychology to getting that hit. You probably haven't had a hit since football season, but he looks like he's ready to go.
Well, he's going to have to wait because California will get the ball first. They won the opening toss and deferred. And now they get it to start the second half with a 12-point lead. Alvin Marshall, who's had a couple of broken field runs, breaks a tackle, still on his feet, picks up one block, spins out of another tackle out to the 38-yard line. 32 yards on the return. Abram Elam with the tackle.
Talked about Bernard Thomas and what a big-time game he's had. He's heading Nebraska. Well, so is Alvin Marshall, and what a great return.
A couple of Nebraska guys. Nebraska has that fake grass now, don't they, Mike? That semi-real, looks like real grass?
I don't think it's going to matter what Alvin Marshall runs on. You could put that guy out in the parking lot running on blacktop, and he's still going to make some moves. That's just tenacity. That's wanting to play football, and that's running over guys, and that's what they love in Lincoln.
Alvin Marshall a little slow to get it. You saw at the end of the replay, he kind of rolled around in pain. I don't know if he just got hit in the gut and had the wind knocked out of him. You can see he's still trying to catch his breath there a little bit. That's a scary feeling. No matter how many times you get the wind knocked out of you, when it happens, it's scary.
You think you're going to die every time.
Oh, yeah. Stats. Get me on the cart. Now he'll catch his breath. Meantime, California goes back to work offensively. Emmanuel White in the backfield, but Chris Ricks, the quarterback, from the shotgun for the first time. 4 receivers in the pattern. Ricks, near side, the ball out of bounds, incomplete. Good coverage by Florida. Leroy Smith was right there, number 18, and thinks he should have had it. He says, don't throw that over here.
You know, Coach Voldnagel talked about, I want my quarterbacks to settle down, and you need your receivers to become less tentative. I think that's probably the problem so far in this offense. The receivers are not comfortable with it. You know, you've got to run a crossing pattern on both sides of the field 80% of the time, and a lot of these players have not done that. They're used to doing their own pattern.
Kerry Colbert goes out wide right for California. Ricks now back up under center and sends Emmanuel White in motion. Short drop looks. Primary receiver not there. Tries to stay on his feet. Good pressure by Florida. Sack made by Omar Jefferson, number 44, and a big loss. Omar Jefferson from Leon High School in Tallahassee, going to Central Florida, was the second-team All-Stater.
Omar Jefferson and David Harley getting good pressure there, and California is going to have to address this because it's not great pass blocking, and coming out of high school, you don't have guys that know how to pass block that well, and conversely, you've got defensive linemen that just want to pin their ears back and get to a quarterback, and Omar Jefferson, a case in point.
You know, I looked at the defensive line of Florida at practice the other day. I thought they might be a little undersized against California, but the one advantage they have, obviously, is foot speed.
And they've utilized it.
3rd down and 20 now. Ricks is going to throw it deep. Penalty flag behind the play. Ricks going deep. Got a man and drops. Kerry Colbert had it. It would have been a 1st down, but you got to hold on to everything. Probably going to be holding if they bring it all the way back. Official throwing the flag right in at those big linemen. And it is holding against California.
And Darnell Bloomfield is out there at the left tackle spot, takes a bad step and then goes and grabs his guy. That's a pretty easy call for an official to make.
He's trying to protect his quarterback.
And then you've got Kerry Colbert. Coach Vollnagel has been critical of him this week, saying that he has had a bad week of practice. And he has taken him aside and had talks to him and said, hey, if you're going to play in this game, you've got to concentrate.
Cedric Edmonds was the guy back on coverage. I don't think he deflected it, but he got in the line of vision of Kerry Colbert, so we'll give him a little help with that one. Chris Cluey now to punt. Capers backs up inside his 30. Capers coming to the near sideline. Capers picking up some blocks. Capers across the 40. Cuts back, across midfield. Capers inside the 40 to the 37-yard line.
Matt, pretty good.
43 yards on the kick, 36 on the return. You try to make Grudegood a household name.
Well, I mean, he's going to be. Believe me, when this guy goes to USC and when he starts his freshman year, everybody's going to know him. That is a school that loves great safeties. You think back to Ronnie Lott, you think to David Gibson, who's just left. Those are guys that will come and crush you. And Matt Grudegood is going to be the living embodiment of that.
Dominic Dunbar remains at quarterback. Quick handoff to Haynes. Nowhere to run. In fact, he'll lose about 2.5 yards. So the question about Johnny Jones and that left ankle has not been answered, not yet. He looks good on the sideline, but Dunbar taking this series. As you look again at Matt Grudegood, we had a chance to see Matt Grudegood play several times here in Southern California. He's listed at 6 feet, Mike. I don't think he's 6 feet, but he's close. But it's one of those guys you just can't look on paper and measure him. He's just a great football player.
Right, I don't care if he's 4 feet. He is just going to come up and get the football, and he's going to come up and hurt you.
Inside, Dunbar tries to spin around. Gets maybe a yard back. It's going to be 3rd and long. We talked before about David Wilson taking home a piece of stadiums from all over the country, and we wondered if he took home some of the Rose Bowl. Well, our camera spied it. Yeah, ready to put, nobody's looking, Coach. Yeah, I'm just going to take home a couple of Clovers. Put that right in the pocket.
You know, that's his technique. That's the exact same move he showed us that he used in South Bend.
That is the same technique. He's going to have to fill out the ag report on the airplane now, isn't he?
He's going to have quite a clipping collection when he gets back home to Lincoln High.
Dunbar, play action. Feels the pressure, steps up, a long way to go, and he gets maybe back to the original line of scrimmage. So after a great return, Florida not able to do anything with it. In fact, they lose 2 yards on the series.
That was the concern in this game, was that the two quarterbacks were having problems communicating with some of their receivers. And the other problem that had come about was neither Dominic Dunbar or Johnny Jones are exceptionally large guys. And you're playing behind a huge offensive line for the first time. You're used to being able to see over guys. Now it comes to a situation where you have to find those lanes to throw through, and it's quite an adjustment for a young quarterback.
Well, Robbie Wright is on to try a 55-yard field goal. Kick is up, and it's short and wide to the left. So an awful lot to ask of a young man. 55 yards on the floor of the Rose Bowl, but what the heck? He may only be here once. He's going to Harvard, give him the shot. He's had a pretty good week.
He's had a great week. When we talked to him, Coach Wilson said, hey, this is a guy that you've got to talk to. And he's a kicker. He's headed to Harvard. We talked to him about why he chose Harvard. He said, look, I love football, and I'm going to go play there. There were some Division I schools that wanted me to come play. He said, but quite frankly, my education means a lot, and for me to have the opportunity to go to Harvard and pass up on that, I think would be a huge mistake. And he's just showing great maturity for a young man who's just a senior in high school.
Best kicker in the state of Florida. He wanted us to say hi to his girlfriend Micah, watching back in Florida, and he says, hey, nothing that happened on the Son of the Beach set is going to matter in his lifetime. Matt Castle keeps it and goes across the 30-yard line. 14 yards for the quarterback.
And that's great athletic ability. I talk about escapability with a quarterback. In an all-star game, there's not going to be great pass protection, and Matt Castle knows that. He rolls his right, feels the pressure, and tucks the ball away. That's pretty good speed for a guy who's running around at 6'5", and Matt Castle does the right thing, tucks it, gets down, and picks up the first.
You know, the best thing I like about it, when he runs, there's no hesitation. He makes the decision, and then he commits. So he gets that extra step on the secondary. It's a first down at the 34-yard line. Castle again, short drop. Throws down the sideline, looking for MacArthur. A good coverage. Leroy Smith, step for step with MacArthur. That's Mike Smith, the intended receiver, number 7, out there from California.
As well as J.R. Reed out there. You've got a couple of defensive backs that have played together, and as I watched practice throughout the week, I looked at these guys, gave them the eyeball test, and Preston Jackson was another one of those guys. I said, you know, they're not giant guys, but they were never out of position, and they're smart guys. In man coverage, they use that sideline, and they push you out, and that's what a smart cornerback does.
Second down and 10 now from the 35-yard line, and from the shotgun, Castle. Castle right at the line of scrimmage, tries to go up the sideline to Keith Allen. The ball off his fingertips and out of bounds.
This is a real test of athletic ability for quarterbacks like Castle, because when you look at the offensive line, there's not great pass blocking going on. And you got some guys that are guessing there on the snap count. And when you guess right, you're going to get in there. And then Castle takes a shot at the end there.
Yeah, this is Eric Moore coming over, number 1, getting him from behind, but there were 3 guys coming up on him. Thomas Matthews also joining in, and Castle ends up flat on his back underneath his own bench. He's a tough kid, pops right back up.
And that's part of the problem. You've got high school players that most every one of them on the offensive line can run block pretty well, but they're not really that advanced with their pass blocking. So it's usually the case in these all-star games, the more athletic quarterback that can get out of trouble is the one that's going to move the offense.
I mentioned during the play that he was throwing right from the line of scrimmage, Mike, and they get him with the flag. He was about a step over the line, so it's loss of down. And now it's going to be 3rd down and 15. Castle again from the shotgun with 4 receivers. Florida guys all jump, but they point at the big guys up front for California, and so Bob McQueen will come over and sort things out. Well, the game's hit a little bit of a lull right now, Mike, and I would say that for Florida, that's a good thing. If they can kind of lull this California offense to sleep, get good field position. The problem is they just haven't been able to get any kind of a drive going.
Well, you're looking at DeMarcus Johnson right now, defensive tackle for the Florida team, has caused a lot of havoc. And guys are gun-shy. They're trying to get back in their stance and stop him. And you see it there again.
Yeah, that's 2 times in a row. The last penalty was on California. Now Brandon Lockhart moves. And I'll tell you what, when Brandon Lockhart moves, you don't even have to be here to know it. He weighs 350 pounds. 6'6". Lockhart's had an eventful week as well. Earlier this week, a bunch of the California players ended up stuck in their elevator in their hotel, and one of the guys in there was the 6'6", 300-pounder. In fact, we tried to add up the 6 guys that were in the elevator, Mike, and it came pretty close to the capacity.
I always say pay attention to the weight test that's posted in the elevator.
Brandon Lockhart from Dominguez High School called for the penalty. A timeout on the field. 3rd and 25 for California, and Jillian Bolnagel a bit frustrated right now.
You know, most men get pretty shook up about losing their hair. But today, many of them are learning about Bosley Medical. They use your own living hair to fill in the thin spots. Just look at that. It really works. You can treat it like real hair because it is real hair. Your own naturally growing hair. So you don't have to worry about it.
Bosley Medical is the world's most experienced hair restoration practice. For over 25 years, they have performed more than 130,000 procedures using the innovative micrografting techniques pioneered by founder Dr. L. Lee Bosley.
Each surgeon at Bosley Medical is board certified and individually trained by me.
So if you want to have your own naturally growing hair back, call this number for more information. We'll send you this free video and in-depth guidebook that gives you the real facts about hair restoration. There's no cost and absolutely no obligation. So do it for yourself. Call now and get the real results you've been looking for.
It's your real hair.
You can't do better than real.
You're huge everywhere.
You're a marquee player, but you have never won Jack.
I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that dislike you.
The Last Word, weeknights at 6:30 and 11:30 on Fox Sports Net.
10:22 to go in the 3rd quarter. The CaliFlorida Bowl at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, Southern California on a warm night. And a pretty good crowd for the very first one of these. They'll play another one in December downtown at the old Coliseum. California All-Stars on top 15-3. That was the score at the half. Nothing in the end zone or between the uprights for either club here in the second half. And really, California looks a little sloppy. And Michael, looks like maybe a long week. The heat and everything else has kind of got their focus off just a little bit. A couple of silly penalties here.
Well, it has been a tough week of practice for California. It was hot, it was smoggy, and it was nasty, but you know, that's part of football, and all these guys are going to face that in a couple of weeks when they go into their respective camps.
California going to punt it away. Abram Elam is back, but I don't think he's going to be near this football. Bounces about 12 yards from him. Now he takes it on a second bounce, cuts to his left, slips, and goes down at the 32-yard line. Let's go down to John Jackson on the sideline.
Yeah, thanks, John. Joined by 2 of the executives for the Ronald McDonald House, Vince Bryson and Dick Hale. Vince, the executive director, and Vince, you had a chance to be with the kids at the visit to the Ronald McDonald House. How did that visit go?
It was great. The players came in, Florida guys came in, spent some time with the families. Then the California guys came in, spent some time with the kids. Kids loved it. Players really enjoyed themselves. They're fine young men in addition to being talented athletes.
Now, Dick, you are the CEO, and this is the 20th year for the Ronald McDonald House. Can you give us a status and update of how the house is doing?
Well, we're doing great. We're going into another expansion. As you know, we have 32 rooms of the house, and unfortunately, we're turning away kids. So this year, we're going into a new expansion to expand the house up to 48 to 64 rooms. It's something we enjoy to do for the kids, and it's something the community needs, and we've had great involvement by the community and yourselves.
Dick, Vince, thanks for the time. Jim, back to you.
All right, JJ, thank you very much. Gentlemen, a tip of the cap from everybody here. Beneficiaries of tonight's CaliFlorida Bowl, number 1, the Ronald McDonald House in Los Angeles, doing good work, those folks. Second down now for Florida. Right at the middle, and again, California's been clogging it up pretty well. You know, Florida had some early success, Mike, going outside the tackles, but lately they've been keeping it in tight.
Well, I'm a little bit surprised by that, because when you look at this defense, both teams are forced to run a 4-3. And that's exactly the defense that you want to run an option against. And where's the option help you? When you go outside, not when you go inside against the big guys. And the bodies are flying in the middle of the California defensive line, and they're doing pretty well against that Florida front.
Johnny Mack, who carried that ball, only 5'8", 170, so you know he's a guy who likes to get outside the hash marks. They go from the eye, fake to Mack this time. Johnny Johnson is back in there, throws to Capers, ball's complete out near the 50-yard line. Johnny Jones, that quarterback who was hurt at the end of the first half, we wondered if he'd come back. He looked much better. And And now he comes back in and throws a completion. DJ Williams on the coverage on Capers.
And DJ Williams doing a nice job. He's at the linebacker spot. That's an out. And to Tavares Capers, and DJ Williams takes off from his linebacker spot and gets over there and swarms to the football.
Capers, of course, we talked about him in the first half. Another one of those undersized guys. Forget about it. He's a player. Capers going to Central Florida. Pitch it outside. Mack around the corner. See, he is just such a good runner when he's outside. Dante Nicholson with a little bake and then a little shake right behind it.
Dante Nicholson is a guy that's another speed athlete. There's so much speed on both of these defenses. Dante Nicholson, 168 tackles, 7 sacks on the year, and he gets outside and he doesn't really break down. He just wants to hit somebody, and he goes helmet to helmet, showing no fear.
From Diamond Bar High School, and next year up in the Emerald City, going to play at the University of Washington for Rick Neuheisel.
That nice purple helmet. He's ready to go up and play for the Huskies.
Johnny Jones had nobody open, and the pocket finally collapses on him. Nate Goodson with the sack for California. The guy from Temescal Canyon.
Talked about him early in the game. He's headed for USC. And Nate Goodson has been a guy throughout the game who has penetrated, but as all of this defensive line, none of these guys are really trying to stay at home. I think in an all-star game, you take that literally. I'm going to be the star, and I'm going to make some plays. And that's it was Nate Goodson's turn.
Now, for the first time tonight, I'm going to say this is a big play. 3rd down and 4 for Florida at the 44-yard line, but they got to get something in the end zone here to get back in this game. Jones wrapped up, just took a little too long to make the decision. DJ Williams comes from behind and keep him short of the sticks, and it's 4th down and about 3.
Well, Johnny Jones looks a little bit tentative, I guess, because he's had the ankle injury, and now he's not exactly running the option with the reckless abandon that he was before. Here he's got to decide, turn it up or pitch it, and the worst thing you can do is be tentative. And of course, he comes up against the guy who many people feel the best player in the country. Comes underneath. That is fundamentally not sound. But if you've got the kind of athletic ability that DJ Williams has, you can come around from the backside and make a play.
That play was turned inside because Matt Grudigan came upfield and forced Jones back inside the tackles. Jones again. They go for it on 4th down. Not going to happen.
Calvin Barrett making a nice play there from his defensive tackle spot. He's a load. You just look at him physically. You know he's a big guy. You know he can play college football. But again, the recurring theme in both of these defenses, everybody here can run. Everybody's got speed. And he's headed to Wisconsin.
(15-3) California. 6 minutes exactly to play in the 3rd quarter. And California hasn't done much, but they've been able to neutralize the Florida attack. Every time Florida gets a nice return, a good field position, they're just unable to move the football. Chris Ricks back in. The kid on his way to Florida State. Throws downfield, has a man, and it's complete. He's got Jeff MacArthur with the catch down at the 31-yard line. A lot of body strength and arm strength right there by Chris Ricks, 25 yards.
Well, you see over there the crossing patterns on the right side, and we talked about that, the fact that you're going to have one of the receivers is going to run a post, the other one is going to run a wheel, and the defensive backs get a little bit confused. And then there's confusion, there's separation. Quarterback finds receiver, and it's a 1st down.
It's a good ball by Chris Ricks. Saw the guy and was able to pull the trigger quickly, kind of threw against his body, but still had something on it, threw it 25 yards downfield. Good ball by Chris Ricks. 1st down for California. 5.5 now to play in the 3rd. Daniel White in the backfield. And they're going to set up a screen to White. And great read and react by Florida. Harley was there. Masco was also there. Omar Jefferson. Lots of hats. Nice read.
Great read, and it was pretty obvious there that nobody was going to bite on the fake. And, you know, we talk about salesmanship. You've got to sell that stuff. You've got to let those guys think that they actually beat you on a pass rush. Don't just give them that cursory brush off and hope that they get by you so you can run down the field. And to the credit of the Florida staff, every one of those guys knew. Not just one of the guys smelled out the screen. Everybody knew it.
Second 14 now for California. Ricks with 4 receivers. Derek Johnson behind him. They fake the end around to MacArthur, and Ricks doesn't fool anybody. Harley, second good play in a row. We've seen this guy make some nice plays tonight. David Harley from Lincoln High School in Tallahassee, going to Marshall.
Well, you've got to get blocking, and if there is penetration up front, it makes it hard to make that play. Once you get a block, stay on that guy. David Harley does a nice job of fighting off the block and keeping his pad level low.
David Harley, of course, making his head coach proud. The head coach tonight, David Wilson of Florida All-Stars, was his head coach at Lincoln High School, and together they won the 6A championship down in Florida. We asked him about it. He talked about his defense for about 10 minutes before he mentioned the offense.
Defense wins football games. Ask any head coach.
Shotgun now for Ricks. 3rd and 14. And now Ricks is going to move up under center. You calling an audible here, Mike? Play action. Looks downfield, has some time, has a man, and has a touchdown. Kerry Colbert.
Well, Jim, if it was an audible, it was a good one.
34 yards on the touchdown.
Chris Ricks does a nice job there. I just think that they were trying to catch the Florida defense off. Chris Ricks takes the ball, fakes the handoff, and there's just enough of a play-action fake there for Ricks to get loose on the right side. And then Kerry Colbert stops once and then freelances, and Chris Ricks finds him, and that ball just got there. And Kerry Colbert, who dropped one earlier, redeems himself for that touchdown grab.
Chris Cluey misses another extra point. This is a guy who's hit a 60 and a 53-yard field goal to win games. Maybe just not enough drama on the PAT. Kerry Colbert, when he caught that touchdown, looked like the most surprised guy in the building. Looks up, says, I got the ball in my hands. I'm in the end zone. Touchdown, California, 21-3.
The Ronald McDonald Houses of Los Angeles, Loma Linda, and Orange County provide a home away from home for families with children undergoing treatment for cancer and other serious illnesses. With lodgings near pediatric care hospitals, these facilities provide comfortable, supportive environments for families during their stay. Battling a life-threatening illness is tough enough on kids. Help them fight back by keeping their families nearby. To learn more, please call 800-625-7295.
See the stars of tomorrow today with Student Sports Magazine. Read about the country's top players in football, basketball, baseball, track and field, and more. Right now, you can get a one-year subscription to Student Sports Magazine for just $19.99. That's 10 issues, packed with coverage of high school athletes from all over the country. And keep up, too, with the latest in high school sports with the website at studentsports.com. With Student Sports Magazine, you'll be ahead of the game. Know tomorrow's stars today.
CaliFlorida Bowl 1 at the Rose Bowl. Arroyo Seco in Pasadena. Kerry Colbert from Point Hueneme High School up the coast here near Santa Barbara with a 34-yard touchdown. Chris Ricks put the ball exactly where it had to be, just over the fingertips of the D-back.
Boy, and that's good concentration by Kerry Colbert, because most receivers will be distracted by the defensive back coming over there. Kerry Colbert with a nice grab, backs it into the end zone, and he's headed to the University of Southern California.
Keep your eye on the ball. Remember, Colbert dropped one just like that earlier, Mike.
And that's what we talked about. You know, it's a nice thing about these games. You'll get a second chance. You'll get to come back and take a shot at it. And Kerry Colbert had broken his hand a year ago, had an infection in that, and really had a tough time coming back his senior year. So it's a good opportunity for him to shine in this game.
On Wall with the kickoff. Stovall calls for it at the 21-yard line. Chauncey Stovall runs past one of his own men. Now he's got some speed in that open field. out across the 40, across midfield, and he runs out of bounds. So another good return for Florida. So the offense cannot make the case that they're not getting field position because they're getting great field position. A 35-yard return by Chauncey Stovall.
I've been somewhat surprised on this game how good the special teams have been, because you've got guys who don't play a lot of special teams. These are all the stars. And you've got a return man here who just has a knack for getting outside. And there it is again. Here comes the famous tackle by a kicker. The horror of every football coach.
Stovall's return puts the ball at the 44-yard line of California. Johnny Jones back in there in the full Lakeland backfield. They throw to Mack, who reverses to Capers. There's a lot of space. Capers right up the gut. Capers at the 20. Capers is going to score. Touchdown, Florida. 44 yards.
And that's the type of athleticism you expect to see out of this Florida offense. You've got guys that have got great speed, and that time they come up with a play that works. A reverse to Ferris Capers. He is a 4-5 guy. And you see the end zone shot here. The whole defense flows. Everybody flows and wants to swarm. There's nobody left home. And then you're going to see the block by the big man right here. Whap! Right there. Hagan Mason out of Lincoln High School. He's headed to East Carolina. And he gets that dream, getting downfield and get the touchdown springing block.
Robbie Wright, extra point, loose football. Going to try to run it in. And he's in. Preston Jackson. And Mike, I didn't see, was it a bad snap or did he just freelance that?
No, bad snap, and he did the right thing.
He gets around the corner.
A lot of problems tonight with PATs, and they one-hop it. And when you get the one hop and you're a great athlete, don't have any fear. Put that thing away, tuck it, get that nose for the end zone. Oh, a little fake there. That's some fancy dancing for two.
You got Sam Cunningham just a bite there at about the 2-yard line and able to get in. Now we take you back to the touchdown again. Capers the guy on the end around.
And you see that California totally bit on the play fake. And then you see the big block right there. And it's an easy run for Capers. And 6 for Florida.
Again, good downfield blocking by Florida. T. Capers, Jackson High School in Miami, on his way to Central Florida, runs a 4.5 40, and he didn't have to make too many moves on that run from midfield. One carry, 44 yards.
I think that you look at, sometimes you've got to use somebody's strength against them, and we talked about the great speed of both these defenses. California overplaying the zone play to the left. The ball comes back to the right, and nobody's home.
So they get the touchdown, they get the 2-point conversion, and David Wilson's crew from Florida back within 10 at 21-11. And not to pick on Chris Kalouhi, the kicker for California, but he has missed 2 extra points, so you want to keep an eye on that and see if it'll come back, be a factor in this game. Robbie Wright, a line drive. Alvin Marshall watches it go out of bounds. See where California elects to take it. In high school football, you can either have them re-kick it. And California players talking to Bob McQueen, Gene Bullnagel shouting the instructions. He already knows what he wants to do.
Fake in this game. It's not points.
He's still arguing about the extra point.
Kickoff return again. Let's go.
So California is going to ask Florida to re-kick it, but he's still working the officials on the 2-point conversion. I think he's saying it should have been 1.
Yeah, he's very adamant about what he's been telling the officials, and of course he's going to work them. And this is not his first sideline that he's worked.
289 career victories, 3rd all-time on the California list. One of the other messages he delivered to his team was 10 points is not enough. That's what the lead is right now, and there's still 15-3, 18 minutes of football left to be played. And now Florida seems to have a little momentum because now California's defense got caught overplaying, so they're going to have to be a little more honest, a little more straight up next time.
I think that is definitely the case. And you know, it's a cliche in football about momentum, but know, it's especially true in a game like this when you can't do anything right. You need something good to happen for you, and it has happened for Florida, and let's see if they can capitalize on that.
So Robbie Wright puts it back on the tee. Thea, Alvin Marshall back deep. It's going to be Marshall at the 8. Marshall across the 30 in all blue jerseys. Marshall trying to get to the sideline. Ends up going the other way. And that's happened in this stadium before. Back to the, that's a 39-yard return for Alvin Marshall.
You see California gets the opportunity, and their return team has done very well. This is a return right for California, and everybody is over there. Florida stays in their lane, and it's got a mismatch with numbers. A little bit of patience would have served him well as far as returning that ball. Wait for your blockers, and it's a hard thing to do to learn that patience when you're a young football player.
Of course, when he started heading back towards his own goal line, Mike, I was referring to Roy Riegels, of course.
Wrong way, Roy Riegels, Cal.
I was afraid of dating myself. 21-11. Alvin Marshall from Locke High School going to Nebraska. Good return. Castle, quick handoff. And Florida is tough up the gut. Mark Tibbs with the stop.
Okay, I want to run a 40.
Well, apparently the FCC didn't want us to hear that play.
40-something.
Yeah, 40-something. Little interruption. Fortunately, his microphone cutting in and out. Castle now going to go talk to Voldegel.
Okay, clock taking timeout. Call him Booker. Okay, let's go to something else, and we'll have to locate him.
Let's go, come on, y'all.
Hey, where's 74 playing? There's 74. A left tackle? What, putting in that play? He pinched or there or what? 32. And we made the trap. Because of...
Well, once again, starting to lose his mic.
Okay, gentlemen,
Well, what he's saying there, I mean, he knows what the problem is there. And he just said, gentlemen, just block. And it's...
yeah, but it's Tibbs.
Yeah, they called me Mr. Tibbs. And I guarantee you they'll be calling him Mr. Tibbs tonight when they're talking about some of the plays. It's, you know, Coach Voldegel says, hey, you know, where's 74 coming from? Where's he playing? He's keenly aware of what the problem is. He goes, he's slanting in on you, and you know that's part of the interaction that goes on, and every single guy has to do it. If you got one guy in the offensive line that blows it, or you got one defensive tackle that's just getting off, it kind of puts it in the offense.
Second down and 10 for Matt Castle and the California Stars. Throws out in the flat. Incomplete. Trying to go to George Gillette.
And you see Matt Castle that time, he's getting that pressure again, and he throws that ball off his back foot, and it just doesn't get the velocity on the football. And I mean, it's just fundamental stuff like that. When you've got somebody coming at you, when you've got a pass rush that's in your face, you try to get rid of the football a little bit quicker or a little bit off balance, and that leads to incompletions.
Castle now 6 for 11, 39 yards and a touchdown. And as soon as that ball was dropped, he went right over and talked to George Gillette about the route. He's going to have 4 guys to throw to, and he keeps Derek Johnson in, but whistles before. California has not looked good in the second half, Mike.
Well, they've had big problems with their offensive line. And they're having a hard time getting the snap count correct. And when you do that, I mean, there's a frustration that grows in the huddle, especially with the quarterback.
Bob McQueen again. Hearing all the opinions and wants to hear one more. He's going to say a personal foul against Florida which is kind of strange because it looked like it just might be a procedure or an encroachment penalty. And David Wilson wants an explanation now.
You know, Dave Wilson's worked the sideline or two in his day.
And Wilson downplays his own mark, 160 and 83. And he's coached a bunch of Florida-Georgia All-Star games as well. And as we've mentioned a couple of times tonight, the 6A champions in Florida, that's as big as it gets down there.
He talked about the opportunity to coach in this game. And when somebody came to him about an All-Star game, he said, well, you know, I've kind of had my fill of All-Star games until he found out it was in this venue. And, you know, we talked about his great love of college football and the respect he has. You know, he started to talk about, you know, he believes in the magic of Notre Dame. He believes in all that. And the opportunity to come and coach in the Rose Bowl was something that he just could not pass up.
Castle walks him back up to the line of scrimmage. The personal foul moves it down to the 39-yard line of Florida. Come on the end around, they're going to throw it. Ball is intercepted by Florida at the 5-yard line. And Florida did not bite on it. Excellent play. Cedric Edmonds with the interception. And Florida stops California again. One of those plays where, now Booth is a quarterback, he should know a little bit better, but there was a lot of coverage back there.
I think you get a little bit anxious when you're playing in this, and there's not a great fake at the line, and nobody in the secondary is biting on the fact that this is going to be a run, and then Booth just lays that ball up there. Cedric Edmonds is back there. He's watching playing center field. Comes up, good concentration, picks it up, and that'll serve him well when he heads up to the University of Syracuse.
Mike Smith was the intended receiver, and the ball, I think, was supposed to be closer to the sideline, where Booth hung it up just a little bit. So Florida gets it back, but again, a long way to go for an option team. Dominic Dunbar is in at quarterback. Haynes is in the backfield.
Actually serves as a pretty good punt, doesn't it?
Inside the 10.
Throw that interception down there to the 5-yard line, the 6-yard line.
Just over a minute to play now in the third quarter. 2nd down and 9 for Florida. They're down 15-3 at the half. Haynes, the deep guy. Dunbar, does he dare throw from this end of the field? They keep it on the ground. Toss back to Haynes. Haynes pulled down from behind. Are they going to get a flag there? Well, looked like it might have been a face mask, but Thomas with the tackle for California. And it's real close to a first down.
Saiga Thomas out of Loyola High School plays in downtown Los Angeles, coming on the backside with great speed, and comes up, and there's a big collision there between Thomas and one of his own men, and Saiga Thomas headed to Northwestern.
Saiga Thomas, that last play, first time we've called his name tonight. Push up the middle on 3rd down and 1. That was just to get the first down. It serves its purpose as Dunbar pushes it out near the 20-yard line. First down, fresh set of downs for Florida. Dunbar apparently not happy with maybe somebody giving him the business underneath the pile.
Oh no, when Brent Pollock came out of the pile, he actually, it looked like he kicked the head of Dominic Dunbar, and Dunbar taking great umbrage with that, and rightfully so.
And that is going to do it for the third quarter, so Dunbar will have a chance to regather himself. Take a look up, Florida back within 10, and Gene Bullnagel said, hey, 10 ain't enough. Not in this game, not against the Florida All-Stars.
Are you waiting to receive future payments from lottery winnings, lawsuit insurance settlements, or privately held mortgages, but need the cash now? Then why wait? This is the only number you need. Call Stone Street Capital at 1-800-WHY-WAIT and get a free, no-obligation confidential quote. It's that easy. You get the most competitive prices and great service. So why wait? To get cash today, even just enough to get to your next payment, call 1-800-WHY-WAIT, extension 1200.
See the stars of tomorrow today with Student Sports Magazine. Read about the country's top players in football, basketball, baseball, track and field, and more. Right now, you can get a one-year subscription to Student Sports Magazine for just $19.99. That's 10 issues packed with coverage of high school athletes from all over the country. And keep up, too, with the latest in high school sports with the website at studentsports.com. With Student Sports Magazine, you'll be ahead of the game. Know tomorrow's star.
Get your rods and reels together for the 4th annual Night Bass Fishing Tournament. This event will take place at Lake Casitas on Saturday, August 12th. Proceeds for this event will benefit the Muscular Dystrophy Association. You may also have an opportunity to enter and win many donated gifts, including several trips to Las Vegas, Laughlin, or Tahoe. Entries are limited, so call 647-0685 or stop by Jones Intercable for your application. Sponsored in part by Jones Intercable.
Having been with cancer, a disease in which certain body cells multiply without apparent control,
diabetes,
destroying healthy
any
tissue
of various
and organs,
diseases characterized by excessive sugar in the blood and urine, hunger, thirst, and gradual weight loss.
Leukemia is a virus.
Cancer that Hodgkin's disease, multiple sclerosis, form of cancer, aggressive disease that damages the myelin sheath coating of nerve cells,
hope, a feeling that what is wanted will happen.
Test your sports IQ nightly. Sports Geniuses, weeknights at 6 on Fox Sports Net.
Top of the show, we told you that number 8 for California, DJ Williams, Concord De La Salle High School, might be the best player in the country, let alone the state of California. He made a couple of good defensive plays, tipped a ball in the air, and then on 4th down, the high snap to Hamry, and guess who's coming around the corner?
DJ Williams?
You read the card. Almost got it, but more importantly, didn't touch the punter. Took a good angle. He's either going to get the ball or get nothing. Came up just empty. Turned out to be a good kick. The ball went away from Sam Cunningham. He tried to bluff everybody with the fair catch. 55-yard kick as it rolls all the way down inside the 10-yard line. Well, what do you think? I've seen DJ Williams play about 5 or 6 games in his high school career, and I think he's a terrific football player.
Yeah, there was a lot of hype surrounding him. It's tough for him to live up to it, but thus far in this game, he's done nothing to take away from the talk about his play.
And they're going to eat him up down at the Orange Bowl. Manuel White breaks a couple of tackles. There's a flag laid back in near the 15-yard line. Charles Howard with the tackle. Steve Navarez, I think, might get called for the hold. The flag was underneath him when he got up.
It's never a good sign.
Mike, I know that you played a couple of years.
Yeah.
You were called for holding, what, twice,
About
3 times?
Approximately 1,500 times while I was in school. You know, and it's interesting. It's not a good sign to get up and have the flag under you. And the other one is, you know, when the thing hits you in the helmet. You got to have an idea that maybe that's against you.
Well, we don't know it's on Navarez, but it was underneath him, so we'll say it was.
His body language is telling me he's guilty.
All the way back down to the 5-yard line. Again, Florida now with an opportunity with 10.5 minutes, down by 10, but they got California backed up, and a chance now for a turnover, or maybe just hold California to a punt, get the ball back on this side of the 50, and toss it to Capers again in the flat.
It's nothing irritating, Mr. Navarez.
Yeah, he's got his head down. Leave me alone. Eric Johnson in the backfield behind Chris Ricks. Chris Ricks going to Florida State, signed as a junior in high school. Throws a line drive just off the fingertips of a diving receiver. It was Tab Perry out near the 22-yard line, couldn't quite get to it.
You know, Tab Perry went completely off in the California-Texas game, had 2 touchdowns in that with balls that were just floated out to him. It's a different ball that Chris Ricks throws. We talked to Coach Bullnagel about him, and he says, you know who he reminds me of was John Hewitt because of the velocity that he has on the ball. He always throws the football hard, and the receivers have had a hard time adjusting to that. Well, I got news for you. If you're going to play big-time college football, you're going to have to catch those types of balls. And conversely, Chris Ricks will have to learn some touch, but you'd rather have him throwing rockets out there than some ducks.
And that is the one knock that I've heard on Chris Ricks, is that his ball is so hard that it's hard to catch. Ricks is 6 for 13, 90 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. And he hands off to Johnson right at the goal line, and Johnson went horizontal there for a little while, now able to get it out across the 15 to the 16. Antoine Jones with the hit. Abram Elam also there.
You know, you can't say anything derogatory about the effort on these two football teams. Both California and Florida have played at a very high level. It's been very physical, and no one has kind of big-timed it.
Oh, you mentioned the high level of play, and it's been brought most of the time by the defense. All I have to do is listen.
And,
Ooh, right in the back of Tab Perry.
Little shots by Carlton Baker on Tab Perry. He is a physical guy and likes to hit people, likes contact.
3rd down and 5. Got to get to the 20. Ricks empties out the backfield with White again. Ricks want to keep it himself. Sidesteps a man, straight arms a guy, knocked across the 30-yard line. 1st down. Ricks gets up and says, 1st down. He does a little tomahawk chop. They love that in Tallahassee.
That reminds me of a guy that used to play in this stadium. Now plays for the Chicago Bears, and Cade McNown. And Cade McNown was a guy that would just get enough to get the 1st down. And he always had that forward lean. Doesn't mind taking a shot or two. And he's happy about it. 1st down, baby.
And both of those guys that you just saw in that last highlight, Eric Moore, number 1 for Florida, and that guy, Chris Ricks, number 16, will be teammates in a couple of weeks. They're both going to Florida State.
So you think that makes the FSU supporters cringe a little bit? They see their 2 guys hitting one another?
Now, Ricks is the one guy I think coming in tonight really still had a little bit left to prove. He had taken a lot of knocks his senior year, didn't have great numbers, was injured. There was a lot of hype around him, a lot written, signing with Florida State as a junior. And I know, talking to him during practice this week, he's just a real good young man, very bright guy. And I knew it was important. He was very serious during practice. Gene Bullnagel said he's a leader. Yeah, late hit on us. It's still 1st and 10 now.
Okay, I want to run a 51.
Okay.
Okay, run it from a gun, 51. Okay.
No argument from the quarterback.
No. And it was interesting. We talked to Gene Bullnagel, and he coaches down in Orange County, so he was very aware of what had gone on with Chris Ricks, and he said he was extremely impressed with him and the type of person that he was and how he acted around his football team.
It's a young man who's been underneath a lot of pressure. There's been a lot of criticism. You know, people forget sometimes when kids are transferring and all the things that go on behind the scenes, they forget that these guys are still 17-year-old young men. And
right.
You know, that still hurts a little bit when you talk about them or when you write something or you're out on the street spreading a little gossip.
Well, I think he's really helped himself in this game. And I think that's the upside of playing in these football games. He's just shown, I think, his character to Gene Bullnagel, and that guy's seen some football players.
Well, they said they're going to run 51. Goes out in the flat. Tab Perry makes the catch, loses a defender. Across the 35-yard line. That's a 1st down. 19 yards.
Tab Perry is a football player that 15, 20 years ago would have been an in-betweener. You know, he's not big enough to be a tight end, and he's too big to be a receiver. But nowadays, you've got the big guys that can get out there and use their athletic ability and use their physical stature, and that's what Tab Perry does. Goes up, gets it, he takes it.
Good ball here by Chris Ricks. He really smokes this thing.
See, but look at those mechanics. Look where his feet are. They're pointed in the right direction. He's throwing off his front foot. That's why the ball has so much velocity.
Puts that one right on target to number 3 and for a 19-yard gain and another 1st down. Just inside of 9 minutes now to play. California just trying to squeeze the life out of this one. Go a little end around here. MacArthur shakes. Takes a hit out near the 43-yard line to be short of a 1st down. A little talking, a little shoving now. Abram Elam with the big hit from the Notre Dame.
Okay. California ran this play in the 1st half, and I said that Jeff MacArthur would have been well served to turn it back in. He does it this time, but now there's somebody to meet him, and he gets rocked by Abram Elam, and he's going to Notre Dame. And those guys play that big man on big man football. So that won't be the first time he rocks a receiver, or the last.
Cardinal Newman High School in Palm Beach. Ricks now with trips left. Second down and 1. He hands it to Manuel White, who gets the first down. Gets turned back by Eric Moore at about the 49-yard line, but it's a first. And they'll move the chains again, and that means they're going to keep the football. So Florida has had their chances, Michael. They've had some good returns. They've had field position. And with the exception of the end around to Capers, they haven't done a whole lot in the second half offensively. Defensively, they played a great second half.
Well, they've had some miscues offensively, and I don't know if that's the fact that they have not had enough time to practice together. I think that they probably have. There were a lot of distractions this week, which is actually good. I think the players deserve a chance to go out and do something besides just practice football.
First down right at midfield. Ricks with Johnson behind, and again trips left, turn hands on the delay to Johnson, who pops it outside, stumbles. Johnson's had trouble with his footing tonight. Elam is right there to knock his nose right in the turf.
Elam's showing a nose for the football here. I mean, he's showing a sense of where it's going to be, and he does a nice job of getting to the football, and he's been a sure tackler all night long. And that's the one thing that Florida has done better than California consistently, is they have tackled much better than California.
Ricks, I don't know if he got knocked around a little bit. He's just tired, but he looks like he's ailing. Did you see what happened to him? He was downfield trying to throw a block. You know, he's a competitor. People can tell me all they want about Chris Ricks, but I'll tell you what, this guy brings it every night.
If he's downfield blocking people, say one, he doesn't have a courage problem, but two, you're going to have to talk to him about that stuff. That's not his job.
Coach Bowden might have a little talk with him, and now he's going to run it. And look at Chris Ricks. The Hearts are skipping a beat in Tallahassee right now. 21 yards for the quarterback, and that's when he came to the line just sucking gas. And he still calls his own number. Says, get out of the way. 5 carries for 41 yards for the quarterback.
Well, his mouth's wide open already, and it's a good job up front. Puts on a nice move there on the linebacker, Sean Jones. You don't see a lot of quarterbacks making moves like that. But Chris Ricks takes this opportunity to help his team and try and pick up the first down.
And you can see the fire for Chris Ricks. There was a penalty after the play. I don't know if it was on Ricks. I didn't see the call, Mike, but they're going to bring it all the way back to the California 42-yard line.
And Ricks looks fatigued, doesn't he?
It wasn't on Ricks. It was a holding. Yeah, he looks tired. He's taking a knee, and he's taking his time. Think he'll call his number again?
No, he's going to throw the ball. He needs a little bit of a blow here.
Second 17. They've been running this formation all night. Little pump. Ricks goes down the sideline to Derek Johnson, throws it up and grabs. And incomplete. Antoine Jones with the coverage.
Not a great read by Chris Ricks that time. I think he decides he's going to throw this ball on the left side when, in actuality, the two receivers on the right side have a better chance of coming open. Mike Smith is in the slot on the right side of the formation and just runs a little out there, about 10 yards, and nobody was around him.
Antoine Jones is one of those sidebar stories in this one. He wasn't on the roster until the night before. Remember, Mike, that David Wilson was telling us. He called him at about 11 o'clock at night. At 2 in the morning, he met his coach, got on the airplane, wasn't even sure where they were going or what they were doing. And when he got here, he just said, give me a helmet, get out of the way. Rick steps up against pressure, throws a dart across the middle, incomplete. Smith couldn't hang on. Diving try at the 40-yard line would have been enough for a first down.
But you know, the positive there, Mike Smith gets to the first down marker. And so many young receivers don't do that. They'll come up a yard short. And I know that people say the defense takes that away from you, but it's who wants it more. And Mike Smith got to the first down marker by a yard. And that's a skill that you want to see in college football.
California will finally give it up. They held it for 5.5 minutes. And a high snap. And a good job by Cluey to get it off. And Capers, and he called for a fair catch and then tried to run with it. I think they're going to get him. It'll be a 37-yard punt. Capers, I think, inadvertently stuck his hand up in the air and then tried to run with it, and that's a penalty.
And he knows, he's smiling. Got to have some fun in these games, too. It's not the end of the world if you make a mistake. The worst thing you can do is be tentative out there.
.5:14, enough time for Florida? I don't think so, not with this offense. They need a big break, and maybe number 7 is the guy, because he went 44 yards on that end around earlier, but California's got to be keying on him now.
No, Tavares Capers has shown the most life here and the most speed and the most ability to make things happen.
Well, Bob McQueen a little bit confused. He's pointed at both teams. He's talking to David Wilson, the Florida head coach.
Well, see, now I thought that Florida was offsides at the inception of the play, and Capers took off after signaling for a fair catch.
I think McQueen's saying, let's go kick it again. He's waving everybody back. So that, in a sense, is a break now for Florida. Well, remember, there was a lot going on. Kluwe had to go up and get a high snap. He had to back up, make a one-handed grab. Good play there. And then he gets rid of it. And then at the other end, Capers signals fair catch and then runs with it, and you can't do that. So it's a penalty, and he knows it right away. Little triple jump.
Bunny hop at the pea patch.
All right, now we're not going to kick it again. Now we're going to keep it down at the 21-yard line for Florida. I don't know. I'm confused, Mike. 21-11, California.
The first annual CaliFlorida Bowl is brought to you in part by Air 7 Sports, home of the Air 7 training camp. By far the best opportunity to develop your skills in every aspect of the sport of football. Come join us for our next session August 3rd through the 6th in Santa Barbara. We'll also be offering an in-season training camp in Pasadena this September. And don't forget to mark your calendars for December 23rd, when we proudly present CaliFlorida Bowl 2 at the Los Angeles Coliseum. Don't miss it.
Merhabalar. Yapılmakta olan ulusal dalgıçlık olimpiyatları için güzel şehrimiz Diyarbakır'a hoş geldiniz. Evet, yarışmacımız Yaşar yürüyor. Yaşar hazırlanıyor. Mükemmel bir atlayış. Atladı. Çok güzel bir atlayış. Herkes şaşkın. Atlayıştı. Evet, omuz ve baş sallama. Evet, ve Yaşar görünüyor.
The first annual CaliFlorida Bowl is brought to you in part by Air 7 Sports, home of the Air 7 training camp. By far the best opportunity to develop your skills in every aspect of the sport of football. Come join us for our next session August 3rd through the 6th in Santa Barbara. We'll also be offering an in-season training camp in Pasadena this September. And don't forget to mark your calendars for December 23rd, when we proudly present CaliFlorida Bowl 2 at the Los Angeles Coliseum. Don't miss it.
Some people are always thinking, obsessed with finding better answers and solutions. For them, there's Office.com, the new internet workplace with the tools and resources business people need most.
We can do this here.
Office.com, the new way to work. A service from WinStar.
A Rose Bowl greeting all the way back to Florida, Manatee, and of course, a Dominic Dunbar fan. He's one of the quarterbacks for the Florida crew. 21-11, California. John Jackson down with a special guest.
That's right, Jim. I do have a special guest, Quincy Watson. In an Olympic year, you have to get a gold medalist. And Q, you win the gold medal in '92. Since then, though, you've been involved with track, but haven't been really active. What's gone on since then?
Well, since then, I've had a car accident, which I hurt my back, and I have a pretty messed up disc. I've been rehabbing that for the last 3 or 4 years. I didn't want to do surgery. I took the long route with rehabilitation. Now I'm back on the track, and it was a slow process, but I look forward to running well in the next upcoming years.
All right, Q, now you're the expert. Maurice Green and Michael Johnson, head-to-head matchup in the 200. Who do you got to win that?
Well, Michael has definitely proven that he's a world record holder in the 200 meters. Maurice is hot right now in the 100-meter record holder. If Maurice comes off the curve first, Maurice Green will win. If Michael comes off first, he'll hold Maurice off.
All right, hey, Jim, you got it from here. Quincy Watts, Maurice Green to win the 200. Back to you.
JJ, let me get you guys hip to this. Nobody's going to touch Michael Johnson in the 200. It's a lot easier to come down from the 4 than go up from the 1. Back to football. Jones is back in. Pump fakes, keeps it. Play still alive. Jones looking for somebody. Late down the middle. Looking for Roberts, who wants interference. Dante Nicholson was there on the coverage. Roberts got up immediately and asked for a flag, didn't get one.
Dante Nicholson just kind of keen on the quarterback the entire time there. And we've talked about athletic ability, and we've talked about quarterbacks doing what they have to do. When it breaks down, you've got to escape. And Johnny Jones showing no ill effect of that ankle from earlier on, and just throws it down the field, trying to hit Willie Roberts.
Jones now as a quarterback 2 for 7 for 24 yards. Dunbar was 3 for 4 for 22. So the quarterbacks are combined 5 for 11 for 46 yards. About the numbers you'd expect from an option offense. Jones going to throw. Ball pops loose. Jones gets back on it. There's flags. That was ugly from the beginning.
And this will be interesting to sort this out.
Penalties on Florida. Not a lot good going to come out of this for Florida. They fumble the ball. They get a penalty.
Talked about the California defensive line and the pressure night. There's a couple 3 guys holding there. So
Thomas gets in there for a big hit. Thomas and Barrett. It's Barrett. I think he's getting held early in this one.
You know, when you're trying to trap somebody and they're 3 yards up the field, it's just not going to work. And it's just been the case of both these defensive lines have teed off tonight.
And Dave Wilson a little bit frustrated. His offense has not done anything in the second half save for a 44-yard end around to T. Capers. California just pinning the ears back now and coming right after Florida and Johnny Jones because they know they got to throw it. Here they come again. Jones, a duck, and caught by Capers. After the 41, Capers coming back to help out his quarterback. 27 yards. Capers now with 4 catches for 65 yards on the night.
And Tavares Capers is out there roaming around. We're talking about every play now is freelancing by Johnny Jones, who's a very good athlete. Just gets nailed after he gets that ball. And Matt Grudegood is out there with Tavares Capers, and
just turned his head.
Yeah, he's thinking, how long can this play go on? And Tavares Capers, as you mentioned, Jim, did a good job of coming back to the quarterback.
It's first down. Now they go back to the option. It's Mack stepping between tacklers up to about the 43. 4 minutes now to play, and Florida's still down by 10. Well, Mike, you've been around a couple of these All-Star games, and you've learned that you can't leave early because you never know what's going to happen in these things.
Seen some odd things happen in the last couple of years, and it seems like the bigger the game, the wilder it gets towards the end. And you know, who wins or loses in this game, I think, obviously is important to the people on the field, but to have this much talent brought together in one high school football game is just amazing.
Mack got eaten up. Big play by Bernard Thomas and Ricardo Stewart.
Bernard Thomas has just been teeing off all night long. He's the big guy out of St. Francis High School up in Mountain View. Talk about speed. Nobody's bigger with the type of speed that Bernard Thomas possesses. He's a 4'6" guy in the 40, and he just gets off and he runs around the potential blocker and just delivers a blow.
Oh, it looked like Mack was going to do something with this football. You see, he's trying to shovel it up. I think they were going end around.
Yeah, they were trying to do something, but you know, Bernard Thomas gets around so quick, and he's watched Darrell Russell a few times. That's a patent of D. Russell.
Fumble right back. Let's see if California gives it right back to Florida. Well, it is Florida's ball right back. Carlton Baker, who's shown a nasty streak a couple times tonight, gets the football back. 21-11 as they close out their high school careers. One of the great coaches in California history, Gene Vollnagel.
Book your travel online with Southwest Airlines, and you'll automatically get double Rapid Rewards flight credits, which means 4 round trips get you a free ticket and some downtime for your computer. And American Express card members can use membership rewards points to earn free Southwest Airlines tickets even faster.
You are now free to move about the country.
Say, how about some blinds? Get them fast. Only Lowe's cuts the blinds you want with great brand names like Springs Faux Wood and Levelor. All in around 15 minutes. All at a guaranteed low price. Custom size Now blinds. Now at Lowe's.
Get your rods and reels together for the 4th annual Night Bass Fishing Tournament. This event will take place at Lake Casitas on Saturday, August 12th. Proceeds for this event will benefit the Muscular Dystrophy Association. You may also have an opportunity to enter and win many donated gifts, including several trips to Las Vegas, Laughlin, or Tahoe. Entries are limited, so call 647-0685 or stop by Jones Intercable for your application. Sponsored in part by Jones Intercable.
Jones Intercable believes in the importance of investing in the youth of our community. Recently, Jones Intercable and American Movie Classics presented El Centrito, a cash donation and a VCR. El Centrito is a nonprofit organization that serves our community with educational programs, such as preparing children with limited resources to begin their first years of school on the right track. Jones Intercable, making an impact in our community.
This is Fox Sports Net 2.
Scotty Vossmeyer hasn't seen a lot of action for California in the second half, and now he just curtailed that last effort, leaving the football on the grass and giving it right back to California. Carlton Baker comes in, picks it up. So back-to-back fumbles, and Florida gets it right back at the 37-yard line. 3:20 to play in the football game. A little trickery again, California. Stovall going to throw it, picks it up, throws it in double coverage, it's intercepted. Marley Tucker down the sideline. Grunegood with a block. Tucker at the 20. Flags all over the place, and Tucker wisely hits the deck at about the 14-yard line. It's a 53-yard return on the interception, but we have flags all over the place. Grunegood got out front of Marley Tucker, and the irony there is that Grunegood played for Mater Dei. Marley Tucker played for Long Beach Poly. Those two schools met for the Division I Southern California Championship.
That ball is just one that I think Florida would like to have back. A lot of trickery there. There's a fumble. You're knowing now things aren't really going your way. And then when you check that thing up there, whoops, bad things happen. And Marley Tucker gets it on the run. And down the road, Matt Grunegood does something kind of crazy right there. He takes on one of the offensive linemen, Lonnie Creighton. You don't have to block everybody.
Now Stovall, I think, pays for it as he picks up the ball. He stood there a long time, and here comes Ricardo Stewart. And was that DJ Williams on the backside?
I saw a streak of silver. That's usually indicative.
I think Chauncey did too. And he stood there an awful long time. Marley Tucker with the interception. Penalty moves it back just to the 32-yard line, so California gets it. Vossmeyer back in there, and Vossmeyer keeps it to the 29-yard line. Stays in bounds. Under 3 now.
And I'm sure that Gene Vollnagel has told Vossmeyer, be conservative in there. Keep it in bounds. Don't pull any crazy Ivans or anything at this stage of the ball game. You've got to be conservative and run out this clock.
Vossmeyer on his way to Oregon, wrapping up a great high school career. Gene Vollnagel, 289 career victories. Put one more in the bank. Johnson stands behind Vosmeyer, and they still have trips right, so I don't know. It's an all-star game, Mike. You can still put the ball in the air? No. Just hand it to Johnson. Inside the 30. 2 minutes now.
That is not Gene Vollnagel's style. I mean, you talk about him and what he's been to high school football, and I don't think legend is too strong a word in Southern California. And I don't think I've ever heard anybody have a terse word about Coach Vollnagel. And if you've beaten those many people, as he has, 289 wins, soon to be 290, you're definitely going to ruffle some feathers.
It's 29 years winning 10 games. That's amazing. Guy's been coaching, what, 47 years, Mike?
Since 1953.
Wow. Well, we don't want to emphasize the win too much for California, but they beat Texas earlier in the summer. Now they beat Florida, so can California lay claim to the best all-stars in the country right now? They beat Texas 6 years running.
I think that there's a lot to be said about that. I think that you look at the universities in Florida, and I don't think there's any doubt that there is a superior brand of college football played in the state of Florida. I don't think anybody on the West Coast can sit there and say we're going to go out and do things. That's why guys like this, who grow up in the shadow of a Pac-10 school, decide to go cross country and play at the University of Miami because of what is happening over there statewide. But high school all-star games have gone California's way. 2-0 this year in the 2 major games, California, Florida, and California, Texas. And as you mentioned, Jim, 6-0 versus the Lone Star State.
Yeah, you saw DJ Williams, of course, he's going to Miami. Chris Ricks is going to Florida State, so Florida loses the football game, but they get 2 real nuggets out of California, one from the south and one from the north. Vosmeyer fights his way to the 20-yard line, should be enough for a first down for California.
Just run this thing out. Don't anybody get hurt. It's no reason to get upset. And you understand when a quarterback takes umbrage with that. And we saw it when it happened to Dominic Dunbar. And now you're seeing it with Scott Vosmeyer. Don't want that extra little shove, that extra little push. And that's, you don't need bravado. I mean, these are all the class athletes of their respective high schools. Carlton Baker's had enough for the night. Played kind of as I expected him to. Flying around, trying to put a helmet on everybody he sees.
He was playing a bit injured tonight, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's got a bad groin, and that having been said, though, you know, when you watch film, or nowadays, I don't want to date myself, when you watch video, there's always that 1 or 2 guys that jump out at you, and Carlton Baker is that guy. When you watch him in practice, when you watch him in film, you say, oh, who's that guy?
Vosmeyer just keeps keeping it. Just trying to keep that clock running.
Give the pill to the running backs. Give him a break. Got Derek Johnson back there. Give him a touch.
We're still working the officials. Well, 30 seconds left in some very grand high school careers. But these guys, of course, a lot of Saturdays in their future. Some big-time players. And now if you tape this one, years from now, you can roll it back and say, I saw him play in high school.
Yeah, pound for pound, as far as all-star games go, I don't think you're going to see more guys playing on Saturday than you are in this football game. These are big-time players. Almost every one of these guys is going to a major university.
And there's your MVP for California, Bernard Thomas. What a game he had. Did just about everything, including scoring some points on a safety from St. Francis High School and going to Nebraska. There's your California MVP from Florida, Tavares Capers. But Bernard Thomas is a name I wasn't real familiar with coming in, Michael, and I'm not going to forget that for a long time. I'm going to keep an eye on him. We knew about DJ Williams coming in. DJ now goes to Miami. He's a Cane, officially.
Well, there's a reason Nebraska went after Bernard Thomas, and it's because he has the ability to make plays like that. It's the beauty of these all-star games. You can show your stuff.
That is going to do it for us. For John Jackson down on the field and Mike Lamb. For Greg Cole up here in the booth with us, Jim Pels, your statistician Dennis Mnuchin, and of course John Hefner, your producer, and Mike Hassan, your director. Thanks very much for watching the very first CaliFlorida Bowl from the Rose Bowl in Pasadena as the California All-Stars beat Florida 21-11. That's one in the books. We're back in December.
The Tustin Auto Center. Sales, service, parts. There's nothing quite like it. After all, it's the #1